Straight Riffin is filmed in front of a live internet audience.
I am riffing. Mitch is riffing. What more can I say? Straight riffing. Do you know how fucking desperate I am for some comfort in my life? I need that pillow.
This show is intended for mature audiences only.
I've seen a lot of dicks.
I don't know how much more disgusting this experience could get.
Are you really not having a good time?
I'm having a fantastic time. I just can't believe how disgusting you are.
I kept yelling, I'm not going to whip my dick out. We talked about that. I'm not going to do that.
Featuring your host, Mitch Marzoni.
I don't walk around going like, hey, I'm really weird. Look at me, I'm weird. As far as I'm concerned, I'm perfectly normal. It's a litmus test for freaky bitches.
And Teddy Tutson.
I'm a hate mercenary. Yeah.
All right. Hate mercenary.
Hater for hire. Hater for hire. I should put on a bit of guys.
There are two victimless crimes, all right? One, jerking off when your window's open. Two, necrophilia.
I'm confessing to a large-scale crime.
Okay, all right.
Now.
Legs akimbo, engaged in sexual discourse.
Come on, man. What kind of guest are you?
It's archived for posterity.
Great internet.
So it'll come back to haunt you every day.
Yikes.
It's time to riff.
Oh, that is right, bitches and motherfuckers. It is April 15th, 2013, episode 107, which makes it 70 episodes exactly since our guest tonight was last on the show. I'm your host, Reverend Mitch, and with me, as always, is the difficult brown, the hater for hire, Mr. Teddy TMI Tutson. How the fuck are you, sir?
Oh, man, I'm hanging in there, still standing right now, Mitch, holding on, got my head held high. We're about to coming down the home stretch. Just got a deuce of straight riffing left, son. We in it.
Was that English?
One and a half-ish, if you will. And our guest this evening, Miss Danielle Stewart. How the fuck are you?
I'm fucking great, and I really like that echoey thing. Do you do that for everybody?
Yeah.
Is that your thing?
Yeah.
We do.
Okay,
Like
alright.
to bring.
Sorry, do you not feel special now? That
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. I was just curious.
That's what we like to do. We like to bring in our guests and give them a nice grand introduction. You
I
know?
have noticed that women seem to be
Far more fun.
mildly obsessed with, do you do that for everyone? Not so much just that effect, but in general.
Well, I'm very glad you bring that up.
Okay.
Because this is a
it.
this is a topic that I have been putting much thought into lately. Because I do the sex and relationship
Yeah,
stuff.
I was going to get into, it's all right. Okay.
Yeah, but this is
going to go over your credits,
No,
but let's just
do
jump
it.
right
Let's
into
jump.
it.
It's
Let's
riffing.
Just,
Credits
let's
later.
just jump in. Don't
Yeah,
even put
let's
it
do
on
it. Let's do
protection.
it.
Let's just go in bareback. Lately, I've been really focusing on what can I tell men in a simple overall umbrella way to get them to understand women. And it's funny because men don't really, I think there's a lot of men that don't really want to understand women, but if anybody does, I will put it to you clearly, and it has to do with that intro. Women just want to feel special.
Yeah.
And if you can apply that to everything you say and everything you do when it comes to a woman, you will be golden. And the biggest thing that men have a hard time understanding or don't understand at all is that. And
Can I give you a situation?
Please.
This is a real thing happened in my life.
Good.
Because it is difficult. Yes, in retrospect, you can look back and go, oh, nah, yeah, okay, I get it. But at the time, it's very difficult sometimes to see those five
Always,
steps ahead.
yeah.
Some years back, I was dating a woman, and I had gone out to Long Beach to get my hair dreaded and stuff like that. Extensions.
A typical Saturday.
All kind of weird shit. Yeah, exactly. And I was at the grocery store right near the hairstylist, just getting soda or something like that, so I'd have something to drink while I was doing this transformation thing. And while I was there, saw these little hugging bunnies. Those little bunnies hugging each other, because it was right around Easter, and I was like, the girl would love this. She would love the hell out of these things. So I pick it up and I'm walking to the register, and I was like, you know what? That hairstylist is doing this pro bono. I should get her one too. So I went out and gave her the thing, and she was like, oh, this is really cool. I was like, yeah. Went home that night, gave the woman the bunnies and some chocolates and stuff, and she was like, oh, this is neat. And then later that day, I think the next day actually, she was on MySpace and saw the photo from the hairstylist with the bunnies. And she was like, you gave her bunnies too? And I was like, well, I felt like I had to give her something. She's been so nice, and I'm not even paying for all the hair stuff. And You know,
It's
she
a
was
com-
not. She was not on board with that. She
Yeah,
was-
that's where the
she was
double-edged sword.
deflated.
Because I understand. I mean, I think the thing is that I will say I feel like there are certain men who just don't want to understand women, but there are men who certainly understand women and are aware of the whole special dynamic. But I think the counterpart to that is that sometimes women have a hard time accepting you are not special in this moment. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, listen, the circumstances call for you to not be special right now, and they struggle with that deeply.
What would be a circumstance? Because certainly not the one he just put forth. Because certainly the one he
What?
just put forth,
I feel like
she
that's,
was absolutely in the right.
No, she wasn't at all. That's kind of insane, I would say. I feel like if you are giving something to someone as like, hey, listen, this is just a complimentary thing for you, I feel like if you wanted to be very lighthearted and be like, you should have at least got her something different, that's fine. But if you throw a legitimate fit about it, that's crazy.
Okay, absolutely. Well,
She didn't.
I want
I
to
will
amend.
put in her defense. She didn't throw a fit. She was just like, oh, that's a kind of
takes the wind
'cause
out of
she
my
like
tires,
came up to me and
sales.
was like, you gave one to your hairstylist too, and I was like, A, how'd you know? And B, yeah. And I just didn't. It didn't even. I was like, yeah.
And I want to amend what I said. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that she was in the right. What I meant to say is that I understand.
Justified. Is that
yeah,
what you mean?
not even justified, because we're talking about.
It's understandable.
I understand it as a woman.
I understand it as a man.
Yeah, and
we just are never going. It's the varying degrees of acceptability.
and
is
that's
what
where
it is.
it's the fine tuning, it's the fine lines that we get. Like, by the way, I just want to sidebar and say that the last time I was here, which was 70 episodes ago, you and I were both chain smoking while doing the podcast.
I think I had the electronic.
I
on
don't
that,
think you did.
because we had a discussion about it.
Did we? But
don't know if you were
you
there
I'm
yet.
sure
I
you were
probably
smoking
was.
real
I
cigarettes
was probably
too.
switching
weren't there
off
yet.
between
You-
the two.
I don't believe
yeah,
you
I
were.
think
Yeah,
it was
because
half and half.
you
Yeah,
used to
that's
smoke
fair.
Newports, right?
No, Marlboro Menthols, but very
Okay,
close. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right, right.
yeah.
I
It was
remember
half and
that.
half.
Mitch love the
It was half and
Newports.
half. I was probably at half and half at that time, but yeah, I haven't. I've smoked like in the last year plus. I've smoked 5 cigarettes.
Oh, that's
maybe.
great. That's great.
So,
I just quit 6 weeks ago.
Oh,
so.
okay.
Bravo,
Well,
bravo.
congrats,
Thank
and I
you.
hope I'm not bothering you with
Not
this.
at all. No,
Okay.
it's vapor. It's
All
fine.
right.
But,
Well, I just mean the physical. Oh my God, there's somebody's smoking. Like
No,
that mental
no,
process.
no.
All right,
No.
all right. Well, kudos.
Thank you. But you know, it's a fine line, because the thing is that your process, your thought process, totally innocent, totally cool, totally awesome. You know, 2 women who one I love in a romantic sense, one I love for doing me the solid. I
Sure.
want to get them both, you know, a gift.
Sure.
And the small detail that a guy rarely thinks about, unless he grew up with women or have experience with it, is to get them something different. Because it
I've been in enemy territory
it
my
makes,
whole life.
Yeah.
That's how I
you
know these
I
things.
grew up in a house of a mother and a sister.
You didn't pay that much attention, obviously.
Well, it wasn't a lot of like gifting. My sister and I were at war.
It's not about gifting, though.
Until I got to like my 20s, and then now we're cool.
Who you
But
talking
like,
to, son? You act like
All right,
my
all
shit
right.
was fucking domestic
it
bliss or
seemed-
something.
No, it seemed like you and your sister were. You're an older brother.
Yeah.
So
But I had a family of matriarchs, though. Yeah, I mean, like there were no real strong men in my family. So I had a family in which it was very heavily tilted towards a female dominated power spectrum. So when those things happen, you're very aware of that. You learn to fucking watch where the fault lines are, so that you do not come across some situation and you're like, well, now I'm doomed.
But if you're paying attention, or if the situations come up, I mean, my ex-boyfriend had 2 moms who grew up in a lesbian home, a sister and a grandmother. It was all women in his house. And he still had some major gaps of knowledge when it came to, you know, doing stuff to make me feel special, basically.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I
No.
think that's. I mean, it's funny because when you take it to, it's like when people talk in the news about, and it's still hilarious to me. So I apologize, but it's still hilarious to me how many times you hear, especially in famous people's stories, a mistress being extremely pissed that there's another mistress.
Absolutely.
And you're just like, what the? And that goes right to your point.
I thought it was the only
that
one.
They got to
They
be
tricked
special.
them, and that's what I'm saying. Well, it's not, that's
Like,
I don't think
not
it's that.
only are you not
No,
the
but
only
I
one
think
by definition.
That's the danger.
But then on top of it, they're like, I'm not even the only one outside of the confines I've already agreed to.
But here's the thing about mistress. Mistress is the ultimate special.
No, it's
even though
not at all.
yes, it is.
I
Even
can't
though
say that.
that is how we feel about it,
That's-
because
that's. I feel like part
maybe
of
by technicality it isn't, but as a woman who women who are mistresses are in that situation because that's how they feel about
And part of it, but this is where, from the male
I see where
perspective,
you're going with
I
this.
see what you're saying, but it's not so much that you're special; it's so much that you have deluded yourself into thinking you're special. And that's the difference, where a lot of women, between saying I want to feel special versus looking at a situation that they know is going to end poorly, right? Most women know, if I'm a mistress, then that, like, he's already stepped out, you know what I mean? Like, the relationship is built on a lie. They know how it's going to end. Their friends tell them, right? And then when it ends, they look to sympathy for their friends, and their friends are like, well, like, why would we feel sad for you? We told you that this was going to happen. So I know those situations. So, like, I'm not going to necessarily.
Well, where it starts, though, of course,
It
is
starts
that
with, delusion. That's
You
where it
guys are
starts.
talking-
where it starts is with the man saying to, and this is probably to your point, Danielle, is the man saying to a given mistress, like, listen, it's just a big battle with the wife. Like, you know, it would be a lot of
The
money,
dude
and I'm
comes
working
out-
it out. Like, I don't know, blah, blah. She doesn't understand me the way that you do. And that's where...
exactly.
and
So
it's
she
like-
allows herself to be lied to, is what you're saying.
That's fair to
That's-
say,
that's-
but also at the same time, it's like, you know, when cliche things happen in your life, you're thinking to yourself, oh, this is total bullshit. And what if the cliche, not in this situation, but in general, what if a cliched thing is happening to you, but it's not going to go the bad way? How do you convince somebody who feels like, oh, I'm in a cliche, I know where this is going, that it's not going that way? And I'm not even talking about this particularly, but I think that's what happens. Yes, it's a bit of self-delusion.
There's a
but,
lot
you
of
know,
self-delusion.
Wait,
Not
okay,
a
but
bit.
hold on.
Safe.
It doesn't really. You guys,
right,
you
go ahead.
guys are taking you're taking an emotional matter and trying to put logic on it.
I don't
That's
think
what
so
men
at all.
do.
I don't,
That- yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think so at all.
You're because I have been in these situations before.
You've been the mistress?
Absolutely,
And the
yeah.
other side.
Well, I've
Mostly
never been
the
married.
mistress.
I've
Okay.
never been married,
Okay.
and I haven't really been a mistress either. I've been.
Did you ever have the hope, like, oh, this is going to he's going to leave her for me?
No,
Or you always
truthfully,
like the
most
side hoe?
truthfully, most mistresses. I mean, I guess there's different kinds of mistresses, but like the kind of mistress, so to speak, that I am is I don't want your fucking husband.
Right.
Like,
You
I
would
don't
be more
want.
rare in the mistress world than
No,
you would be
no,
fine.
I don't think so. I think no, because here's the thing: it gets back to there are some women who are just attracted to emotionally unavailable men. Period.
Yeah, I don't, that's not.
And-
That's not what I'm talking about, though.
Right,
I'm-
but what I'm saying is that there are women that are always attracted to a man that is taken by somebody else. I have friends like that. I am attracted to emotionally unavailable men, but they're not necessarily taken by somebody else. In fact, that rarely happens, but it has happened to me.
You want
But-
him emotionally damaged or distant?
Say that again.
I said you want him emotionally damaged or emotionally distant?
I don't
Or a little
want
bit of
them
both?
either. It's just a way of.
I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
speaking to your sort of stereotypical man that you just described.
Yeah, not
are we
damaged.
talking-
For me, it's more like a chase. So I guess
Okay.
just literally not available.
Right,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
okay.
Like the long periods between contact. You know that whole.
But
thing.
not emotionally distant, just physically.
I mean, they all kind of go together.
All right,
You know what I mean?
all
They all
right,
kind of go
fair,
together. But
fair.
what I wanted to say to you is that like, yeah, there's people who are mistresses for different reasons, but it is the ultimate feeling of special because it either is like, yeah, he's with her but doesn't want to be because, you know, like what you said, the divorce would be too expensive and he really wants to be with me. Or it's like she gives him one thing, I give him another thing, and I give him sex, which is what men really want anyway, so therefore I'm more important. Like, as a woman, when you feel sexually lusted after, you feel like in the number one position. Even if the wife is there and she's got the house and the kids, if you feel like you've got the power of the pussy, you feel like you're number one. And the guy makes you feel that way, and that's the message. And some women might want them to leave their wives, some women don't. Yes, there's an element of delusion. It doesn't really matter because you're getting off on something else. It doesn't matter how it's going to play out. No one thinks about how it's like, you know what it's like? It's like saying to somebody, don't, you know, okay, I'm giving you this heroin. Now you know how this is going to play out. You've seen the after school specials. Are you sure you want to take a hit of
We
it?
all watch Train Spotting.
Of course. And
Sure.
if you're in a room with someone who has heroin and you're hanging out with that crowd, chances are you're going to take that heroin and it doesn't end well. Nobody fucking, or not nobody, but like there's a very real chance that you'll get hooked on it and that never ends well. There's no exception to that. There are some small exceptions that you'll recreationally do heroin, but for the most part, you're pretty much throwing your life away as soon as you take a hit of that pipe or a snort of that line. But yet people do it every day.
Sure.
Yeah, but the thing is that when I understand you're saying like with the emotions and whatnot or whatever, and it's the sense of the idea of how the feeling of being special is created in the first place, right? Like, yes, I'm fully aware that no one is sitting and saying like, oh, I know this is going to end poorly or whatever. But in a lot of cases, as it begins to develop and people start, and I think we should also clarify, if we're using mistress and affairs and things like that's we're talking about long-term committed marriages and relationships and not just like casual boyfriend-girlfriend shit.
Yes. Okay. Because
that makes a huge distinction.
Absolutely,
You're not having a mistress if you're dating someone
That's
and you're
true.
fucking someone else.
Sure.
You're just cheating, okay?
Yeah,
That's
I
not
got
a
it.
fucking mistress.
Fair enough.
So
We're going with mistress.
It matters.
You're in a
Wait,
thing that's
why does-
Especially because
Why does that matter with specialness, though?
because a large part of I would say that if you're talking about mistresses and what that represents, that's a very different thing from just having some ass on the side. If you're just, I'm just kind of in this semi-exclusive relationship. If you're married, if you have children, if you have property, if you have a family, and you start to take away the emotions and all the things that you've invested in that relationship and transfer them over to this mistress, it's not then just this simple thing of being like, oh, I'm making this person. I mean, there's a lot of larger dynamics at work there. So it's very different than a typical relationship that would be very casual then.
Well, yes, I agree with that.
So what
but
I'm
why
saying
does
is, so the specialness comes into the sense that, yes, you may not be thinking about the fact that it's going to end poorly, but it already is going to end poorly by the fact that you've engaged in a behavior that has no positive end game. It doesn't.
But that has nothing to do with feeling special.
Yes, it does have to do with feeling special because you have to recognize as a woman, right? If you are saying to, like, I like whatever type of man, if some dude comes to you and you know that he's married, you know that he has a wife, you know that he has kids, and you then allow yourself to brush all that on aside because you want the power of the pussy, you want to feel special at the cost of deluding yourself. So that's where that comes in.
Absolutely. I think I have to be honest with you. I think feeling special, that whole thing is all deluding. It's like if
Well,
Mitch,
that was my point.
It's all
Yeah,
deluding.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that. Well, all I was
I'm
trying
good
to
for you.
argue is that
Actually,
they're
I
no
do need water,
different
sorry.
than anybody else. Like if Mitch had not picked up that
Okay.
bunny.
Yeah. That's fine. Sorry.
If Mitch had not picked up that bunny for the hairdresser and had picked up something else for the hairdresser,
If she wouldn't have put it on MySpace before the girl I was with at the time put it on MySpace.
Let's be fair. If the
would
girl
be
that you were
different.
with was actually a kind of more functional person, it probably wouldn't just be a big deal. That's part of
No,
the.
well,
I know.
I mean, I'm
yes,
with you. I'm
no,
with you. But
come on.
but at the same time, it wasn't a big deal. It was just something she
it's
mentioned.
something she mentioned that was brought to your attention.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that when we're talking about being delusional,
Mm.
delusional is absolutely a part of it. Because look, feelings are like you wanted to get the bunny for both the hairdresser and the girl because really it was just about I want to get them each something nice. It was not about like the girlfriend is different than her because it's not about that. But the
Sure.
woman needs to feel, even though it may not like
Let me go slightly off topic because I have a question.
yeah.
Is one of the side effects of wanting to feel special the reason why, or one of the reasons I should say, why women will sometimes say, "Oh, I never do this."
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because they want you to look at them in a special light. Even, like outside of just what's happening, they want you to go, "Oh, something special is happening. She's doing a special thing." And now she's more. Is it like that? I always assumed it was just that they didn't want to. They were sort of saying to themselves, "I'm not a slut." You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm not the thing that society always shames women for being. I'm not that. And like, even though this guy might not think that, I need to say it out loud just to get it out there.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
what I
really,
assumed it was, but-
that is what it is,
Okay,
and they're the
all right.
same thing. I mean, it really is about it's both sides. Those are both the things that happen when a woman says that she feels that she's letting the guy know, hey, by the way, I don't like take it up the ass with every guy I hook up with, just so you know. Even if she had, I never do this. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But even if she had before, whether she was telling the truth or not, she wants him to know I'm not the kind of person that does this all the time. But
Sure.
she also wants him to know and to say to herself, like, this is a special thing, and I'm giving you something special, and therefore you should treat me as special in return. Like any
Sure,
sort of
sure.
any sort of opportunity to be made to feel special, a woman will try to set up. It's the one constant thing that we're always trying to manipulate.
That's what I've noticed about in the. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
Teddy.
go ahead.
That's the thing I've noticed about female friends of mine that are single and dating. Maybe they're doing some online shit. Maybe they're just trying to meet people through work or whatever the fuck it is, and the thing that they'll say, it's very common in LA, maybe it's common everywhere else, but in LA they always like to say, in LA guys are blah blah. It's this thing where they'll say like, well, as soon as they have sex, then they're just, men aren't interested anymore. And I've tried to fight against that, like that stereotype for a long time, because it's always bothered me, because some women will say like, oh, I'm gonna, we have to go on X amount, like 10 dates, or I have to know him for a month and a half, or I need to blah blah. So I need to make sure that he's invested before we have sex, because once we have sex, he's just gonna leave. But if I make him hold out for it, and I go like, no, that's manipulating. Like that's the thing where if he's like almost entirely written you off, but you told him that on date 10 there's sex, then he might hang out for another 2-3 dates. Because he's like, well, look, I'm already in it this long. I don't really like it that much, but I'm kind of curious to fuck. And then you fuck and you go, oh, we don't even get along sexually. Now I have all the information. To me, it's all about the information. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
it sounds to me,
it's,
women miss the point with this whole waiting to have sex thing. And it really is a case-by-case basis. And if you can't if you don't understand sexual social cues, then maybe you have to put some sort of 10-date limit on yourself.
Sure.
But if you're telling the guy, hey, we can have sex in 10 dates, that's just retarded.
Yeah.
For a lot
now,
of reasons.
to be fair, I don't know how many of them actually say it. I'm just saying. Like, when we've had conversations, they go like, guys know that. And I'm like, what do you mean they know?
Well, that might be their personal rule. Like, I don't have a personal rule with that, but I do know that you said, well, that's manipulation. Yes. Relationships, I feel there needs to be some element of game playing and some element of manipulation.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that's just how I feel.
That's a nightmare.
Let's keep this open and honest.
It's a nightmare.
And nobody's right.
It sounds like a nightmare.
I mean, it's a nightmare.
But there's different.
To your point,
there's
I'll
different
use
games
one
and there's
line, and
different
then I'm going to
levels.
let Teddy go at it. But what I've said for a long time is that in every relationship, just to keep it going, there is a sort of requirement on some level of just a teensiest bit of lying. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to lie just at least a little bit.
Any relationship, romantic or not.
Exactly.
Person to person,
You need like
yes.
some sort of like, no, you that was a good, attempt at the thing that you really like doing.
I guess the difference,
something like that.
right? Like, I'm not going to be in a relationship with someone who needs me to lie to them. Period. That's it. Okay?
You're just being unrealistic.
No, I don't think I am being unrealistic. I think what I am being is having the expectation that people have the emotional maturity to confront things and process them and then take their space. That's what I need in a partner. So if you don't meet those qualifications, you're not going to be my partner. Simple as that. But I'm not going to engage in a relationship in which the basis is a constant kind of jockeying for position, because I have enough of that shit in my real life outside of bringing another person in. I don't need to bring in another person to play a bunch of fucking games and psychodynamic shit. Do you know what I'm saying?
But you're probably with the games and manipulation that you're probably thinking of, I probably would agree with you on that. I think maybe
what are you classifying as
what
games
I'm
and
talking
manipulation?
about
then?
is like really it starts out with
Real
everything.
quick, I will say this real quick. I mean to cut you off, but in regards to what I was saying with the lying, is for instance, some years ago, a friend of mine that I used to live with, my old roommate, came to a show I did, and everything that led up to the show, during the show, and then my performance, all of the things went wrong. Everything went wrong. And I was just fucking angry as shit. I was just like, fuck. Like, everything went wrong. And then at the very end, I was like, okay, well, I'm going up on stage. I'm going to try to pull some fucking gold out of this pile of shit day that I've had. And I didn't. Mm-hmm. And we were leaving. And he goes, you were really, you're really rusty. You've been really rusty up there. And I was just like... it's like, first off, that's not even the right thing to say.
Mm-hmm, totally
but secondly, in regards to relationships and lying, if somebody has something like that, you don't say anything negative. You go like, "What? How you feeling? How you ask questions."
It's not lying. That's being a decent person.
Well, but what I'm saying is like,
But that's the
you
kind of
might-
lying he's talking
But what
about.
I'm saying
that's
is
not
like in
lying,
your
though.
head, you're going
It's a
like,
poor phrase.
"Wow, this person on stage that I like and I've seen them do well is not doing well tonight." But you don't tell them, "Hey, you didn't do well." And if they say,
not
"How did I
lying.
do?"
That's
you
not
go like,
lying, dude.
well, it was a
not-
rough night. You focus on other things.
I think here's
You know
the
what I'm
difference.
saying?
If I was dating a guy and he cooked me a steak, and I ate the steak and I thought the steak was a little bit tough, and he'd say, but I ate the whole steak and I enjoyed it. It wasn't and he said, "Do you like the steak?" I would say, "Yeah, I thought it was good." But to my friend, I might say, "He cooked me a steak. It was kind of tough and it was overcooked.
Why
I mean,
can't
it was
you
fine."
tell him that it's a little bit tough? That's what I'm saying. Like, if you can't tell your fucking partner that the steak is good but a little bit tough, you don't need to be in a fucking relationship.
That's crazy.
Wait,
No,
wait,
it's not.
wait,
That's
wait, wait,
fucking
wait, wait, wait.
crazy.
crazy?
I do
Hold
not
on,
want
I
to
wanna-
hear that the steak I cooked was a little bit tough.
Hold
Don't
on,
fucking tell me that.
Let me ask you a question then, Teddy, because you did draw a line between decent human being and delusion. I'm curious, and I think Danielle is also curious. Where is that line?
Well,
Exactly.
for first of all,
I feel like
listen,
that's
if you,
the reason
I guess
for
here's
the
the
lies.
difference, right?
The white lies, as they call them.
Right, but like, goddamn, it's like this is where I just like, all right, if I am building a fucking life partnership with somebody, okay, a life partnership, son, stakes is gonna be real high. I need somebody that can be like, yeah, that was good, but you know what, we could do that, and I need to be able to take that shit in stride because those are the kind of things in my life I have those situations for. My life requires that I have someone who can be, listen, this was good, but this was this part that was a little bit weak. And if that was about a fucking steak, I would respect them for telling me that that was what the steak was.
Well, that's great, and that is a particular trait to you. I don't think that across the board most people feel that way. I know for me, I'm a very honest, open person. I never want anyone to tell me to validate that I had a bad set. I don't want anyone. I mean, if I was about to go up into Master Chef and I was practicing my steak cooking, I would want my partner to tell me that the steak was tough. Other than that, I want him to say, "I loved it, thank you." That's what I want, because you know what? I talk to myself. I've worked so hard to not talk to myself like an asshole. I call myself a fucking fat piece of shit. I tell myself I'm not funny. I'm up at night. I have anxiety about it. I don't need somebody else telling me that, whether it's true or not. I don't want someone telling
I guess
me
it's
that.
different. Like I mean, we've talked about this on the show plenty of times. I'm incredibly brutal on myself. I always have been, and so I mean, like,
As am I to myself.
right. So like, I fully
Just wanna
understand that
throw in
dynamic as well.
time in.
You know, I mean, I get that, but I think that's the thing where it's like, because I am that way with myself, I'm not going to bring in somebody else who's not going to treat me the same way I treat myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but like, I have an alcoholic mind. I talk to myself like a fucking awful person. And
I mean, like,
if
yeah.
anyone talked to me the way I talk to me, they not only would they not be my friend, I would have a fucking restraining
Obviously,
order against
no one
them.
is going to. No one's going to fully match what my id lets loose. On me,
Right,
okay?
Sure.
right. But,
But
even
they will.
remotely-
The essence
But
of it. The essence of it.
Is there not an element of it wherein have you been in a situation where you say like, this thing that happened with me and another person is not ideal, but I'm going to be polite? Let's say I meet I go to some girl's parents' house, right? And they cook a meal and I'm like, "Oh God, they fucked up their rice." I'm not going to say that. You're like, "Oh,
It's not the same
it's a
dynamic.
fantastic
Why?
meal."
Why
no,
isn't
is.
it?
It's a fantastic
No,
meal.
it's not the same dynamic because you're talking about a intimate one-on-one circumstance versus a larger social gathering. They're not the same dynamics at all.
No. I'm merely talking about just that as far as when we're talking about relationships. And also, if you're talking about like building a life with somebody, her parents are going to be a part of that. And this will not be the only time you have a meal at their house and the mom will fuck up the rice or the dad will fuck up the rice. Hey,
you can't
we're
really
open.
fuck up rice, but I'm gonna let it slide.
You can make
Okay.
it could be tough.
That's true.
You been to Panda Express lately? Anyway, that's the thing is like rice is either perfect or fucking
Yeah, I
ruined.
guess you're right.
So
Are you going to tell your partner that their family is terrible at cooking rice? That's the real question then. Or are you going to tell
no, I
them?
wouldn't do that.
Yeah, okay,
No,
so
no.
that's
I'm
the tell.
saying,
That's the equivalent there. The equivalent is after you leave the dinner on the car ride home, you're like, God, that was awful. That's the real question.
What I think is crazy is that you would, yes, like, I don't think I would have an issue telling my partner that the rice was fucked up, but there would be absolutely no fucking reason for me to bring it up unless they said, what did you think about the rice? Other than that, I'm keeping it to myself, not because I wasn't thinking it all through dinner, but just because to me it would be lunacy to think that that's something that's a topic of discussion. Like
Put it
that
this
it,
way,
that it matters.
if on the drive home they're like, "Oh God, I love my mom's cooking. It's like gourmet. She could be on Perfect Chef or something like that. The rice tonight was fucking fantastic.
Not so much.
Do you say like,
yeah, you say
a
not so
little
much.
tough for me? No, I mean it's fine.
I would say
I'm not
that.
disagreeing.
I would
with
say
you.
that.
I'm merely that's
because
okay.
therein lies the difference.
Yeah, okay. So you like brutal honesty in your
No, it's not
relationships.
brutal honesty.
Okay,
It's
you like
hold on
open
a dialogue.
All right, but I don't think that it's fair for you to bestow that on everybody else.
And that's why I know it's not even. And that's I was very, very regimented in terms of laying out the fact of, listen, these are my expectations. So if I'm even fucking talking to you, I think you can fulfill them. Okay? If I don't think you can fulfill them, we're not gonna talk to each other. That's how I make my moves in that sense. So yes, I don't think that it's a very rigorous expectation, and I have not asked that many people to step up to the plate and fulfill it because I know that most people aren't capable of it.
Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if it's a capable thing. I mean, I'm very capable of being as honest as you want me to be, but I just don't want that same thing back. So I try to do it. I used to be very, very like...
I mean, it goes in varying degrees. It's like if it's the first date, I don't want to hear that.
No, I'm
but if it's,
going
if
automatically
it's
into
years,
we're partners.
right,
you know what I mean? I don't want to hear that the dress makes me look fat. Tell me it makes me look good. As long as I'm not as long as you don't think I'm embarrassing myself walking out in
Here's
the dress,
the other thing, though.
just
On
tell
the
me it
flip
looks
side of that
great.
question is that, like, when you ask the question of does it make you look fat, and in your head you already say, like, you already know how you feel in the dress, right? So, like, why then you have created a dynamic in which you've placed your partner in kind of a shitty place, essentially. You've placed them in a place where, like, you know that you don't really feel that good in the dress, so either just change out of the dress or be like, you know what, fuck it, I don't care, I want to wear this dress. But don't ask them to then lie in some case or sage your feelings is how I feel in that regard, because that's not fair to me as your partner.
Yeah, see, that's a difference between men and women thing. Like, if a man said to me, do I look like, how does this shirt look? Because he would never say, do I look fat in this shirt? Unless it was like, wow, he really looks fat in that shirt, or that shirt's too small or whatever. Other than that, I would say you look great in it. If he's going to walk out of the house and I know other women or people are going to look at him and going, "Ugh, God, that doesn't
Well, it's the
look
same
good."
thing with a woman, though. If I know that you really don't look good in that dress, and I know it does not fit you well, right? And you come to me and say, how does this dress make me look? What do you want me to do in that case?
Well, when I say
personally, what would you?
Personally, if I do look fat in a dress or it's ill-fitting or whatever, I want to know. What I don't want to know, and this is 90% or 95% of really when the situation comes up, is when I'm not feeling good about my body because I'm having my period or ate too many carbs that week or whatever, and I put on a dress and I'm being extra fucking nitpicky about how I look. And really what I'm asking is, am I insane, or is my stomach sticking out to the point where people will notice? That's really what I'm asking. And so unless it's like, if you think I look sexy in it and I'm overthinking it, what I want to hear is, no, you look great. Other than that, I want the honest truth.
Right.
You know, if women who look fat in the dress, if they're asking, do I look fat? I think it's most women who don't look fat in the dress that ask that question. In reality,
But you can't ascribe that to yourself.
Right, exactly. And so, like, no, but you know what I'm saying?
No, I know. It's like many things. There's a lot of situations where it's like, yes, it's easy to see that outside of yourself.
And I've had men go, you know what, it's not my favorite. That's something that I get, and that is a great answer, because really I need to know, should I keep this dress on or take it off? You know what I mean? And I've heard, you know what, it's not my favorite, and I'll go, great, I'll put something else on.
I usually go, well, it depends. If it's early on, I mean, I tell people early on, like, I don't answer loaded questions. I'll just make that as a rule, so that they know, like, hey, I don't answer loaded questions. And then, they stop asking those. But if they're asking something that could go a bad way, I'll tend to ask questions back. Like, if they're like, I don't know, there's something about this dress, it feels like it's blah, blah, and I'll be like, what are your problems with the dress? What is your concern with the dress? You know what I mean? Because I'm like trying to get at, like, what is the exact thing? And they go, oh, well, just this one part, it sort of poofs out and makes my ass look big. And then I'll blame it on the dress. You know, it's like, oh, well, yeah, I see what you're saying because the dress, the way that it's shaped.
If
right,
you felt that
you
way,
know,
or if they were
right.
being crazy, you would say, no, it looks great, right?
Well, yeah. Well, no, I mean, yeah, I guess to this.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I think
That's
if
a
it
perfect
looks
response.
great, if they come out, like if they come out of the bathroom or the bedroom or whatever, they come out dressed. If I think it looks great, I'll say it. Like I'll just say it right off the bat.
Perfect. That's perfect.
It's just if they say something about it, then I'm kind of like, what? Because I want to I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, no, I see why you have problems because it makes the tits look lopsided. And they're like, no, I was talking about the back, and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, what exactly about the dress are you worried about? Like what
Right.
exact thing? And if you were saying like you're like, oh, it looks like my stomach sticks out, then I would either go, oh well, yeah, I see what you're saying because of the if
Right.
or I would go like, no, that's you're insane.
That's
You're,
exactly, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
And that's exactly really what we're looking for. Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Well, I mean, I know those things relatively well from the growing up around the women, but
What do you consider? You said you don't answer loaded questions. What do you consider a loaded question?
usually, do I look fat in this dress?
So I mean, that's a loaded question.
question.
That's absolutely loaded.
Why is
loaded-
that loaded?
Because
loaded-
you're it's. Go ahead, Mitch.
I'll give you a stereotypical, not so much stereotypical, a terrible example, a wonderful example of a terrible question that's loaded. If you asked a married man, have you stopped beating your wife? That's a loaded question because if he says no, then that means he beats his wife. And if he says yes,
that
then
means
he
he
admits he used to.
I
See what I'm saying? Like
understand.
that would be. There's no good
Okay.
answer. That's the classic example of a
Okay,
loaded
but
question.
do I look fat in that dress?
A more
is-
realistic one.
The end
No,
game
because
for
if
the
you
person
say-
on the receiving end of the question is that they cannot typically provide a satisfactory answer.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
it's
No.
loaded.
Because if you say,
But
"Do I
do
look
I-
fat in this dress?" and I say no,
Then you'll be like, "Are you
oh,
lying
he's
to me?
lying to
You're
me.
lying
He
to
just
me,"
wants
because
to-
in your head you're thinking that you look
Right.
fat, and if I say, I wish you would change," then you're like, "Oh, I can't believe
Now
you
it's
actually
like,
said
yeah,
that out
now
loud."
it's terrible,
I
yeah.
personally think that that's not at all a loaded question. I think if the
'cause you're a
person
woman.
thinks that they're lying, that sounds like an insane person who has problems.
I mean, that's-
I don't think only insane people ask that question.
No,
I
we're not
asked-
saying. I mean, that's just that question though is I would say a quintessential example of a loaded question that a lot of men are asked by women in relationships.
I had
Okay.
a.
I just don't
I'll
feel
give
like
you,
it's
I'll give
loaded.
you an
When
example.
I ask it, it's not loaded.
I'll
I
give you an
just-
example of
yeah.
when I used the. I'm not answering that. It's a loaded question. A girl I was with said that she had seen like photos of some girl I had dated prior to that, and she said, "I noticed you tend to go for like bustier women. I feel like my tits are sorry, slamming on the ceiling or something." She's like, "I feel like my tits are like small or too small for you or something like that. I feel like I should get like a boob job or something like that in general. Just like I don't like the way my tits look and they're not very big. And I noticed that you like bigger boobs."
Okay.
And she was like,
What's the question?
phrasing it as a question, and I'm
Okay.
doing a terrible
Well,
job.
the whole
of-
confrontation really is loaded.
but yeah, and so I was just like, I'm not even answering that
Right,
because
like,
it was like
the fact
it was
that it's
like-
even on the table at all.
It was like, of course I like your tits. If I didn't like your tits, we wouldn't be a
therein
thing.
lies the fucking problem. And going back to what we originally talked about, and I mean to get aggressive
Go
on
ahead,
that,
please,
but
go ahead.
that is exactly the problem where there's too much of a difference between men and women and the lack of communication and all this shit. Because the whole if you ever think in your
get a soda?
mind. If you ever think in your mind, well, of course I blah, blah, blah. If I didn't blah, 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 I wouldn't be here. Take that out of your brain.
Sure,
Of
sure.
course you have, because the answer to that question is always, my tits are small, blah, 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 better boob job. I love your fucking tits.
Sure.
The end. There's nothing fucking
Right.
loaded about it.
That's what I said. But then she said, "Oh, but I noticed you like the bigger."
Yeah,
and
I,
I was
think
like,
you're missing that.
I was
element
like,
of it.
Then you
well,
go,
I said-
No,
I
it's
like,
about the
I
tits.
said-
it's about this
yeah,
other
I was
girl
like-
and his preferences. It's not just a single thing. That's the other
perhaps
thing.
it's a leading question, but it's
Not
one.
perhaps it is.
Okay.
right.
You
No,
guys
I mean,
are the whole thing
Cool.
is again women trying to feel special. This is
Sure,
not
sure,
about the other girl.
sure.
It's not about the
Absolutely.
other girl at all. She doesn't want to know
Right.
fucking shit about the other girl.
Absolutely.
She brings up the other girl, giving you an opportunity to make her feel special. So the answer to that question is I fucking love your boobs. Yes, I've been into bustier women, but I fucking love your boobs. And I don't care that they're an A cup. They're fucking amazing, and I want to stick my dick in between them right fucking now.
Well, she doesn't probably want
It's
to
very difficult. You pull the nipples and really.
Well, if I say that, that's what I would like as.
But I think one of the things though is that the fundamental difference is that between you've got when you talk about communication, there is a fundamental difference between masculine and feminine communication styles, and it's not even necessarily relegated to men and women, because women can have a masculine communication style, men can have feminine. Sure. But the biggest difference is that for men, you have to basically, there's a great sort of gender communication theorist. I can't remember her name right now, but she lays it out essentially as the difference for men is that if you're a woman giving a presentation to a group of men in a boardroom, right? And if you're a woman, you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, I have all these great ideas, and like, I'm going to lay it out this, and in the end, it's all going to come together, and they're going to see my brilliance, and it's going to, fucking come together. But like, if you're men, the preference is it doesn't work unless you state the point up front to them. That's the difference for the masculine communication style. If you say, listen, this is what my presentation is about, and then you start laying out all these grand ideas and theories, and then you finally tie them together in the end, they'll be listening, thinking to themselves, okay, this is what this is about. That's why this connects to this. That's why this connects to this. But women don't necessarily need that kind of focal point in their communication style because it's more tangent. So like, that's the thing where women will overthink themselves to a degree, and then when they approach men, it's just fucked from the beginning. Do you know what I mean? Because the dude is just like, what is this even about right now? Because I know what you're confronting me about is not the real issue. So you don't even know how to proceed from that point.
And actually, it's a really good point. And that is, to me, very infantile communication. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people, and I think women especially, that still are stuck in that.
It's like cockroaches. By the time you've seen one, there's a giant problem going on. And it's like, if you're with somebody who, by the time they speak up about a problem, it's because it's been festering for 6 months, and now they're ready to explode. That's a problem.
But it's also not a time thing. It's that we get, and it's not women, men too.
Oh, yeah, I said a person.
We get upset. We have, a lot of times there's misdirected anger. There's misdirected feelings, right? So it's like, why did you, look, I don't give a shit if a guy I'm dating checks out a girl in a short skirt. Doesn't bother me at all. I don't care if a guy, jerks off to porn. I don't care. But if I feel like we're not having sex, I'm freaked out about this one female relationship he has. He got a weird text message from a number I didn't know. Like, then all of a sudden, where my anger is going to come out, because I feel like a schmuck going, like, I saw your phone and I didn't know this number. Like, I don't want to be that girl. So instead, I nitpick about the girl I saw you check out in the short skirt.
Right.
So what I do personally for me, because my pet peeve is misdirected anger with my friend, my girlfriends are the not my sexual girlfriends, but my platonic girlfriends who bitch to me about problems they're having with their boyfriend. The number one is always, this is completely misdirected anger. What are you really fucking upset about? Sure. And I try to go through, like, what is this really about first? Right. And that's only years of therapy and 12-step programs and blah, blah, blah. Sure. But it is my fucking pet peeve when you're, like, going to be getting mad at me.
I think that's the main problem, though, if you really want to get into the weeds of male-female sort of heterosexual communication, is that, like, you've got dudes who are like, listen, I don't fucking understand women or whatever, and they just get fucking confused because, like, they try to understand, and they're like, well, the thing that I think you're angry about, you're not even angry about, so, like, I don't even know where to go from here. Do you know what I mean? Like, how can we even have a conversation where you can't articulate what is bothering you? That's the part where the logic-emotion gap from men and women really comes into play, because dudes will be like, listen, this is my beef, I'll beat the shit out of you, what's going on? And it's straight to the fucking point. But they would like to see, like, if a woman could at least come to a man and be like, this is the problem. I'm like, okay, I'm listening now. And now you walk through things. But, like, if you can't approach a man and articulate directly and bluntly what your problem with him is, you're never going to go anywhere.
Well, to their defense, most of the time these women do not know. They're not insightful enough to really understand.
That's a tough
No,
defense.
but I'm just saying, like, that a lot of times they don't understand. They just have the feelings. Like, there was this girl. I was dating a guy for a couple of years, and there was this girl that he was friends with. And when we first started dating, she wasn't around at all. And I knew that he was friends with her. Her name had come up a couple times, but she wasn't, like, ever around. You know what I mean? He wasn't talking to her on the phone. He was never texting her. They never had plans. And then all of a sudden, like 9 months into the relationship, she started resurfacing. She started, coming up, and all of a sudden he was going to watch sport games with her and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't like her. Okay? There was no reason. There was nothing she had done. I just didn't fucking like her. Probably because she came up too late in the relationship and we'd already gotten in a groove and I didn't like her in my fucking business. There was nothing rational about it. I just didn't like her. And it got to the point we would bicker about it, and I would, because I didn't want to be that girl that's like, you can't have this friend. I don't, that's not cool.
You don't ever want to be that person.
Right, you don't ever want to be that person. But it was driving me crazy. And the real problem that I couldn't communicate to him, I tried to in plain English, but he didn't understand it, was that you need to somehow get this relationship good. Like, you need to somehow help with this dynamic. Either you need to invite her over and make us be friends, or you need to go above and beyond to make me feel like our relationship is more special than your relationship with her. Like, you know what I mean? There needs to be something where it's like,
had he invited you along on any of these excursions?
I don't know. I don't know.
You know what? You know what it is. But
ask.
I've been in that exact circumstance. And if you had been invited along, all you would have seen most likely is a confirmation of like, well, this it's to your point. It's a sense of like the fact that she is even having as much time and attention with him is not some sort of coincidence. Yeah, I mean, like usually when women's instincts are like, I don't like her. The fuck are you doing around this situation? You're right. Do you know what I'm saying? And
I really hope I wasn't fucking right.
Well, no, like, I mean, unfortunately, like, and there was a thing where, like, I thought that
yeah, to this day, I fucking hope.
Well, I mean, like, and I was in a situation previously where I was like, I had my girlfriend and then, another friend of mine who's a female, and then we had known each other before I started dating this girl, and so she came in, she's like, I don't really, like, I know that's your friend or whatever, but, like, I get these vibes, and I was like, no, I don't really think that's the case or whatever, and I even set up a time for them to hang out and such, and she was like, yeah, not really feeling that shit. And so she was kind of trying to not be the girl that you're saying, which is like, I don't want to tell you like to kick this bitch out of your life, but like you need to kick this bitch out of your life.
Yeah.
And it turns out that she was dead. She was exactly right. And this girl just one day just was grossly and inappropriately hitting on me to like when we were at a party and people were like, why is this girl like talking to my girlfriend being like, why, like, who is this bitch like all over your man over here? And so like I went to her and I was like, I'm sorry that I didn't trust you from the beginning on this point. I thought this relationship was very differently, but to that point, it's the sense of like, I understand the emotional level that you're describing because you're right. In that sense, if he ever continues to like let her just linger in the fucking prism of your relationship, you have reason to be unsettled because you're like, why are you investing all this time and attention over here? Are you doing something that I am not giving you or something like that? And that's where that festering kind of starts to develop. So I mean, from that perspective, I can definitely understand what you're saying.
But I think I don't even know how we got into. Oh, it was something about the and by the way, just to side note,
cool,
I don't think that actually I just threw this out there, but I don't think I happen to know her and we happen to be quote unquote friendly. Her and me hanging out would not have been the solution. For some women it would be. For me, it wouldn't. I just wanted the bitch fucking out of the picture. Because before him and I got together, she was like, there was something fucking there, whether it was him, her, whether it was both of them. And look, I think in a way there's...
You know what? It comes down to that, especially as a man, you don't ever want to tell anyone, I'm sorry, I can't blank because my girlfriend doesn't like it. You don't ever want to have to.
Yeah,
say
but you know
that.
what it is though? It's the point that like, and this is where I understand women and their perspective very well, because that's not what it is. What it is that they want you to say, I can't have you in my life because you're disrespecting what I'm trying to do over here. It's not because my girlfriend does. It's because you fucking care about your girlfriend and she's not happy, and you should fucking step up to the plate and stop letting this fucking person disrespect the thing that you're trying to build.
And actuality in this particular situation, she never... It's very subtle. She never disrespected me, and in fact, she really tried. She really tried. No. See, I don't think it was her. She really tried to sort of, when the opportunity arose without being too much, to include me in things and go above and beyond and, tweet at me and stuff like that. I mean, she really tried. As soon as we broke up, that shit ended.
That was the long con. She was on a long con.
But she really tried to include me. And
to be fair, I've been that guy. I've been the guy that a girl is like, look, my boyfriend hates it when I hang out with you or whatever. And then we're all at a bar and I'll buy him a couple of drinks and I'll find a way to connect to this motherfucker. And yes, probably I had fucked this girl in the past, or I will as soon as you're broken up. I'm with you there on the long con. But
but hold on,
I'm
but
sorry.
again,
It's been a long time. We've been ripping
yeah.
hard today that I haven't
Riffing
written
so
anything
hard,
on
yeah.
the board, and I'm gonna have to write the
Christ.
long con
Be-
on the board. I think fucking
All right,
Danielle
all right,
came
all
in and
right.
was just like, let's just get to work.
yeah, that's fun. I
So
like
I'm
this.
writing-
This is
writing the
good.
long con.
but I'll tell you something, and this goes back to the delusional thing, and Teddy's gonna go fucking bananas when I bring this
God
up. But
damn it.
but again,
Why's it got to be bananas?
because he's just gonna go fucking. Was that racist? Was that racist?
Damn it, Mitch.
He's gonna go fucking coconnuts over this.
I like coconut. That's
Okay,
good. I'll
yeah,
take
yeah.
that.
He's gonna go
Why are
fucking
you
fried
picking-
chicken and watermelon
Why
over
are
this
you
shit.
picking
Oh
all
my God.
these jungle fruits?
Yeah. Damn it, Mitch. Let her get to her point.
All right. Sorry.
Is that this is an area where an element of delusion. I want an element of delusion because here's the thing.
okay.
I don't know if he wanted to fuck her. I know at one point she wanted to fuck him. I don't know if
And
you know.
just quick side note: how did you know that? Did she tell you that?
No, because when I before him and I started dating, we were friends, and she was coming on to him.
She knew. Come on. She
Yeah,
knew. That
she was
shit.
coming
She had
on
a
to him.
thick dossier
I
on
get
that
it,
shit,
I
son.
get it,
She
I
did.
get it.
And
I
I don't
just was
mind. Look,
curious.
I don't mind dating a guy. I don't mind a guy hanging out with a chick that I know wants to fuck him, as long as him and I are good.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
What I was trying to say is that it wasn't her disrespecting the relationship. It was him.
Right.
And it was so
This
subtle.
Was, you were wondering how you got on this topic? Misplaced anger. That's why.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, go
And
ahead.
so it was him. He was the one, and there was nothing in a court of fucking law, you know what I mean, that I could say that he did. There was nothing particular that he did. It was just this general.
intangible,
They have a
there's a
secret.
thing.
They have a relationship that's outside of our relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not included on this.
Which
Like,
is that sense of like, hey, this funny thing happened, but like you can't, like, if the three of you were hanging out, you could not share any kind of.
it was more like we would be sitting down to watch a movie and a text would come up and I would see her name and they'd be like, for them it was all about sports, and that was something that I had nothing,
Right,
with him
yeah.
with. But that was their connection, which I already felt on the outside because I'm not into sports. But it
Sure.
was obvious to me that they had been having a full day long back and forth text message conversation about something about sports when I didn't even know he was texting anyone about sports.
Right.
And if it had been some dude, I wouldn't fucking cared. But for some reason, this chick who I know at one point he was considering, getting with, I think he is attracted to her, but I don't think he wanted to date her, and that's why it didn't happen because they were friends or
Right.
whatever. But there was something there at one point, and I don't like him having something private with this girl, even though it was something I didn't want to be involved in, and I hated myself for feeling that way. And I tried. I mean, I went through so many different fucking spaces.
Did you ever look
with
through
it.
his phone?
No, I won't do that. If I'm looking through your phone, it's over.
I hire somebody else to do that.
Yeah. No, I can't. I can't. It's not even that. It's not like
Have
a
you
boundary.
did you ever catch yourself doing it once and then you're just like, oh my God, I've gone too
The
far?
closest I've come is when something came up, like a text came up or something. I one time, or actually it might have happened more than one time, I've slid the bar, on the thing
Right.
just to and then seen like the whole thread come up. That's the closest I've ever come, and I've read like one or two things.
The old,
Did
look
it-
at that folder
was it-
falling off the desk.
Was it innocuous, or was it like, oh, you had reason to be suspicious?
No, it was innocuous. I mean, one of the times it was a dude. Like a lot of times, it's just sometimes I want to see what he was talking to people.
Sure.
It wasn't. I never felt with him. The truth is I never felt that he was cheating on me. In fact, I was 100% sure that he wasn't physically cheating on me. What I didn't like, and that was the thing, I didn't like the private relationship. And this theme
Kind of
with
emotional
him,
betrayal kind of
yes,
thing.
this theme with him went on in all areas. I remember one time there was this other girl. I mean, obviously no, it's not obvious, but I'm talking about comics. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I was dating a comic, and these are other female comics, right? So we're starting from the get-go of like, I already fucking hate you because you're a girl and you're a comic. And
Right,
you know what I mean?
yes.
So unless you're my homie, you're my fucking enemy, you
Yes.
know? So there was this one girl who we would run into every now and then, and every time we would run into her, he would scurry off like, a few feet away or whatever and talk to her privately. And he never introduced me to her. He never was like, this is my girlfriend. He never did
mad
that.
shady, yo.
And
Mad shady.
Yeah, absolutely. And we would fight over it all the fucking time. And he was basically like, whatever. Anyway, of course, as soon as we broke up, he fucked her. You know what I mean? And he gave me the whole thing of like, I would never fuck her. She's a whore. She's disgusting. She's
protesting too much kind of thing.
she sucked Rick Shapiro's dick. I hope you're listening and you know who you fucking are, you cunt. You know what I mean? Like, I would never touch her.
Why is she a
Aggressive
terrible
river.
person?
Because
Just
she
for
fucked my
existing?
ex-boyfriend.
I mean, he's your ex.
Yeah, but I'm still emotionally
All right,
entwined
all
with
right,
him.
all
Yeah,
right,
I'm still
all
in
right.
love with him. Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
no, I
yeah.
get it. Okay.
You
That's
don't
cool.
know, Mitch.
Listen,
You
I
don't
don't-
understand what's going on this side of the table.
Honestly, look,
I get it. I get it.
I'm
It's,
gonna
it's
admit-
not a. It's not an actual thing about her as a person. It's a personal just her effect in your life. I get it. I totally get that.
Well, the first time I met her
She was blowing
yeah.
Rick Shapiro.
in a Jeep outside of an open mic.
well,
and
Literally, that was the first time you met
that
her?
was the first time I
was
met
lit-
her.
I
And
just
you
threw
thought
that
it was
out.
a jest.
I was just kidding.
Boom.
Really? That's
Yeah,
how you met her.
That's the first time I
met her,
I
mouthful of
actually
dick.
never met her, but
Yeah, you can't really meet somebody like that. That's not.
she came
Susan.
in and was like
Woo-woo.
talking to people, and then everyone was like, "Oh my god, she just because someone had like walked in on them doing it," and
Okay.
I was. Look, I was horrified. I was just horrified by it. It was horrified because if you want to be a comic, probably the last thing that you should do, barring like taking your clothes off on stage, is sucking a guy's dick in the parking lot of an open mic when you're an open micer. You know what I'm saying? That is the last thing you should do.
that's-
So that's why I never get laid.
That
at
is
open mics. I was
That's
always
like
wondering.
that's basically being a cokehead essentially. That's like crack status where you're like you are
Can you
just
give me a
slumming
gig?
it. You should not be doing.
Well,
that
that's
at
the thing. You're not even sucking someone's dick that can get you a gig.
Yeah,
Did I
right.
mention it was Rick Shapiro? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're
Shapiro could probably get you a gig or two. He's a touring comic. He's a
I really don't think he could.
underground
I'm
legend.
going to be completely honest.
He wouldn't, but he could.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an underground legend. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I just
So
don't
I mean,
think.
yeah,
I don't,
I'm with you. Yeah. I'm just.
I mean, that would
yeah.
require
Danielle's not going to give you that one.
I know. That's
She's not
fine,
gonna give you
that's
that.
fine.
She's standing
Yeah.
firm.
Maybe.
I get it. I get it.
On a good day, maybe.
Look,
is
Rick,
the
if
best
you're
you get.
listening, I love you, but I just don't think it's not that.
He's
it's
not
just
even
that
the kind
I just
of person
can't
who
see
does
that kind of guy.
Yeah,
exactly.
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 I'm
That's
with you.
what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it would
I'm
even
with you.
cross his mind. So my point is, I'm not. Here's the thing that I don't like about what the last 2 minutes that I've talked is that I don't like to be that judgmental bitch, especially when it comes to sex. Because Lord knows I have fucking sucked some disgusting dick in my life, and Lord knows I have made bad choices about people, over and over again. So I don't like tagging on to that and being like, oh, that's the reason I don't like her. It has nothing to do with me not liking her. It was the first time I met her and I was like, oh, okay, that's the kind of girl you are, which there's no problem with that, but I classified her in the kind of girl that would be starting out in comedy by sucking a headliner's dick in the parking lot of an open mic. Bad or good, it doesn't matter. That's just how I classified her. But when I started to not like her was when she would scurry off with my boyfriend. And granted, it's on him. It's not fucking her problem. She doesn't owe me anything. You know, if she can get my boyfriend in a corner to talk privately without me, more power to her. You know what I mean? That's on him. But my anger is directed towards her.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Because I don't want to be the jealous fucking girlfriend, even though I did, try to talk to him about it. And then, of course, it would be too long between seeing her and he never could correct behavior. And then
That's like the Indecent Proposal movie. It's not a movie about like, oh, would you let your wife fuck somebody for $1 million? It's a movie about like, where do you go once that question has been fucking put on the table?
Right.
Because like now you're in a position that you never thought you'd be in. And just the fact that you now have to think about that ruins fucking everything. Unless you're strong enough to both
a
be
lot
like,
of couples can't once you and it's sort of the sort of thing where like
So so real quick, the reason I bring that up, that girl would be the Indecent Proposal. It's like it's not. I mean, not to $1 million, but I'm just saying, like, just the fact that she
$42.50.
just the fact that she exists, kind of thing, puts that on the table, and you're like, God, why is this here? Like, why do I have to deal with this now? Sorry, go
Why
ahead.
have you? No, it's the whole point. To your point of what you're saying, it's on him. Where it's like, why have you introduced this noxious element
Sure.
And it's a very ugly. That is the one area in relationships that I still don't know how to deal with, and it gets so ugly because it's so subtle most of the time. Look, if a guy's beating me or fucking somebody else or doing something shady, it's done.
I got a
I'm talking
handbook
about
for that.
right, exactly. But the subtle things where it's like he's going like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just bad at introducing people, and I would never fuck her. She's a scumbag.
Those really
blah, blah, blah,
innocuous
blah.
kind of the things that add
Exactly.
up very quickly.
And that make you feel like you're fucking going crazy. The other thing about him is that he's one of these guys that just gives love to everybody. You know what I mean? He needs everyone to love him.
It's very gregarious, just like outgoing all the time, just constantly bringing people in.
But no matter how many
Is
times
schmoozer kind of thing?
Not a schmoozer, but more like a people pleaser in
Okay.
a cool way. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
Like people don't realize he's a desperate people pleaser who
He's got a very good facade over
very
it.
good facade.
He's a charmer.
Yeah, and but he needs everyone to like him, and no matter what they've done to him or how they've screwed him over, he needs everyone to like him. But when you have somebody, and this goes back to the special thing, when you have somebody that everyone's sweetie, everyone's honey, everyone's
Right.
love,
When they walk into a room and everyone's like, "Oh, you're here, yeah,
yeah, what's up, baby? Give you a
Yeah,
hug, kiss, kiss.
right.
When everyone is like that, you don't feel special as the girlfriend.
That's a very true point, and I think
Yeah,
and I think that's the thing that a lot of guys,
I wish
because
she would fucking tune into this.
it's gonna be on the internet forever, motherfucker. But I think that's the thing that a lot of guys,
I'll
because
tweet it to her later.
because especially it's very easy. It's so seductive, that attention when you walk into a room and
Sure,
you're like, oh,
sure.
look at all these people who are excited that I'm here or whatever, and then you don't even remember that you showed up with somebody. And they're just standing around watching you, and they feel like they have to compete with the bar.
Right,
To be like,
right.
whereas they should be like, I'm the
I
person
will
that came
say,
here with you.
Of all the thousands of mistakes I make throughout life and interpersonal and so on and so forth, that's one I'm extremely mindful of because more times than I can count, I've been somebody's friend at a party and we've walked in and now I'm alone. Now it's just me and a bunch of strangers, and the one person I know is
Gone.
off in the corner.
Yeah, I've been there.
Or like I've gone into a party with like a hot girl.
It's the worst
Oh,
when
I
you're
hate
who is
that.
like just a friend,
I've
and
never done
then
that.
everybody wants to hang out with the hot girl, and I'm like, I'm not even sure if there's a thing here or what. And then at the end of the night, I'm like, hey, I'm going home. I realize you're fucking in the bedroom. That's I just hope that he can
wanted to
drive
let
you.
you know.
I'm gonna go now.
I
and it's
know,
been
it
very
sucks.
it's very rude that you didn't even fucking introduce me. So yeah, I'm very mindful of like anytime somebody walks, if I'm talking with somebody whose name I know and somebody else comes up, I will immediately be like, this is blankety blank.
And a lot of that is character, like the right upbringing. A lot of that is maturity. You know, I used to be the queen of like not thinking about anybody else but myself, and I was like, we'd walk into a club and I'd take off, you know. But once I quit drinking and became a decent fucking human being, now I'm mindful of that for that
Sure,
same reason.
sure.
But it took, for me, I wasn't born with it, you
Right,
know.
right.
So I when I have, you know, like with him, I would say to him, you know, this is what I need. I
right,
need
it's
you
a
to-
very easy fix. It's a very easy fix. It's a simple matter of like
if you're willing to fix it.
That's
Yeah,
the thing.
exactly.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing where it's like
He
it's
wasn't
very,
willing.
because you know what it is. A lot of
I'd say,
people
like,
don't
for
want
people
to.
at home that are like, I've had that problem. The very easy fix is if you
this is
go
so great.
into
I'm getting angry.
if you go into like a party with who are anonymous people to the person that you came there with, you need to walk into the party as if the two of you are one.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
can't fucking go, all right, stand over by the door. I'm gonna go around.
Everyone that you
gotta
talk
fucking-
to, you need to build a bridge for
Yes.
the person that you came
Yep.
with.
Exactly.
Because
It's
if
very
you
easy.
end up getting peeled off, let's say you just went to go hit up the cheese platter. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe they found somebody who they could finally chat with, and that you could be like, all right, I'm gonna go grab us some drinks, and they're occupied for 5 minutes, and that's fine. But you've got to make an effort though, socially.
I've had male friends that have had girlfriends.
Can't just leave a person on an island.
that I've met 10, 15 times, and they've never introduced the girl. And she knows my name. You know what I mean? And we'll all be talking, and I feel really terrible that I'm like, I still don't know this girl's name.
Yeah.
And I can't ask her now.
I'm like, you
But I
were
was
way
never
too comfortable in
properly-
the social circle.
Yeah, it's like I was never properly introduced.
Yeah.
You were just, you were the girlfriend of a guy I knew, and you started talking to me, which is cool. But now I'm kind of pissed at my friend that like you didn't the moment you walked up say this is my girlfriend so
I feel
and
like
so.
if you were the girlfriend, then that's when you're like, I know your friends names. Like, why don't your friends know who I am? You know,
Right.
That's when the fucking drama comes in on the way. When you're like, how come I know everyone in your social circle and they look at me like I'm a fucking stranger still?
Well, and it gets, I mean, hopefully I'll never have to experience this again. Fucking ever. But it gets kind of convoluted
Now
when you're
she's talking beyond the podcast, like the whole cosmos.
Like fucking
Go.
Right, I get
Second
it.
hour, bitches.
I get it.
Ever.
Strap in.
Right.
when you're dating comic on comic, shit gets fucking gray. The area gets gray because he would always be like, well, I assumed you knew each other. You know what I mean?
Right,
They've been doing, blah, 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 blah. And that's what he would always, I assumed you knew each other. And
That's
it's
a
just like,
simple fix, one sentence. Do you know?
Yeah.
But his whole argument
That's it.
for him, and look, it's one of those things where it's extremely frustrating, but do you end a relationship over it? He could never correct the problem. He would be like, I'm sorry, I'm just really bad at it.
Was that ultimately the
Of course not, but it was a
It
culmination.
definitely was a catalyst to some other things.
Yeah, it's
it
a
was,
Sure.
It's like a fissure that lets you see what's actually going on deeper underneath the surface. Where you're, like, all right, well, this is clearly an issue, but like the foundation for that issue is something else.
Yeah, if he was a great partner, except just couldn't remember how to introduce
Get a
me,
fucking-
it wouldn't be. But it was more just like this general thing,
sort of like disregard for who
general
you were.
disregard
Right.
of anybody but himself.
Right, yeah.
You
Well,
know?
that shit is not correctable except for patient zero.
And what's really tricky about that kind of shit is that shit takes fucking months to
Right.
figure out.
Right.
Years sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a year and a half to figure out, oh, this is a selfish, childish motherfucker who's
Right.
emotionally stinted and
Yeah.
isn't going to grow in time.
And
mean,
when you meet a guy now, do you say, because I will do this to people I know, if I'm out with them and I notice they're the type that forgets to introduce, I will give them shit. I was go, listen,
Who's your
when
friend?
Oh, I always give.
when
I
you,
always give
when you
shit.
take me somewhere, I need you to introduce. I need you to do that.
Oh,
I'll
absolutely.
give them a lot of shit.
I've actually never really. There's a couple times where someone's been like, you know what, I didn't introduce you because I couldn't remember their name, and then
Right,
I go,
right.
oh no, that's cool. Just,
I
and
tell
then-
them in advance.
Yeah, I go-
I don't know
like,
that guy
Yeah, I
over
need
there.
you to fucking do
Exactly.
the slingshot
He's
I
move.
go-
coming towards me. I don't know who he is.
Yeah, and by the way, for people who ever use that excuse, I didn't introduce you because then you go. Then this is what you go. Oh, here's my friend Danielle.
Sure.
This is my friend Danielle, and then usually the person goes, oh, hi, I'm Peter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
so
usually what you
that's-
try to do.
back
The
pocket all the
unfortunate
time.
thing-
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is when you go, oh, this is my friend Danielle, and they go, hi, and you're like, fuck, I hate you.
But
I
that
hate
you
right
have
Right.
to, you got to roll with a good friend though, who's like, and your
and
name is.
that's
That's
what I always.
if my friend can't complete that, I'm not bringing you to the open bar. Is what I'm
Right,
saying.
right.
Okay, y'all
Right.
need to know. Well, we gonna have a conversation before we go inside. I'm gonna be like, the only reason I brought you is because I know that you can finish the.
Well,
end.
ideally, over the course of a few months, you would be like, listen, this is how we work as a team. This is how we work.
Right.
all right?
watch
If
watch
you
the
don't
Italian
know,
Job and be like, listen,
I will figure it out. You know, by the way that you introduce, I will figure it out. And yeah, and it's never embarrassing if you're the person being introduced to say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's
That's
loud
your job.
or like whatever it is. Even if they
job.
said their name, I'm sorry, what was that? Peter?
You
Peter.
can, yeah, you can do it
Okay.
again later on in the night. I'm
Thought
sorry,
it was
I
Peter
forgot.
or
Right.
something. Yeah.
And
Right.
it's funny because these little small tiny things that we take for granted, like these things that we, tend to be the things that like end up being these annoying, like these are things that aren't deal breakers in the beginning of a relationship, but towards the end they should be. You know what I mean?
No
Right, well, it's
single
like after
raindrop is
you-
responsible for the flood.
After you've kind of, given them their grace period of like, all right, I'm feeling out who you are as a person, kind of sketching out my profile, like these are the things that I'm noticing. I haven't seen any major red flags to just shut down everything right now. But then after time, you've accumulated enough data that you're like, all right, listen, these things don't look like they're changing at all. So unless you make some serious changes or you can have some real dialogue about what's going on here, I gotta peace out because there's like too many small problems indicative of a much larger problem.
And there's such a fine line between like accumulating data before making an informed decision and I'm trying to change the person I'm with. There's a fucking fine line between this. It drives me bananas. Again with the
Well,
banana.
you know what
I'm
it is?
sorry, Teddy.
It's okay. It's
No,
on
no,
you.
it's-
That's fine.
It's all Mitch.
Your
Yeah.
own
Mitch is
demand.
taking it's you know what it is. It's a
Helen.
thing too where like I've had relationships before, you know, and someone's like that's not who you are, and I was like I just want to break your face right now because like you don't like and you're like we've been together for how long and you have the audacity to say that who do you think I am now? And then that's when you just get mad at yourself or being like oh, how you know what I mean? You're like how
Man,
did I let
wish
you
was
in?
with somebody who paid that much attention to say something like
Yeah.
that.
You don't really, you know, risk. No, they didn't. The irony is though they didn't really pay any attention. They didn't pay
Right,
attention.
right,
they had
of course.
built some sort of false.
But they thought they were paying
they
attention.
thought that they were paying
Sure.
They
attention.
wanted to be the kind of person that paid attention.
Right, that they were like,
I don't
oh.
even have that.
Right, you're like, oh, I guess.
That's tough, yeah.
Fist bump. Fist bump.
I never had that. You know what? Like,
I'm gonna put that. I want the person who pays attention. We're gonna put that on the board.
or at least pretend.
And I want
But
the kind of person who
even if it's
pretends
a
to pay
false.
attention.
I don't
Like-
date people who can afford to pay attention.
You know, it's like those. There's always a thing in every biopic. There's always a thing where there's a couple. there's like the charismatic dude who's like at the top of his career, but he's also like a mess, like on drugs or drinking or whatever it is. And he's just like, I'm ready to throw it all in. And the woman walks in, she sits him down, and she's like, listen, you're better than this.
Right, yeah.
You're the guy that goes into the room and lights up and gives this whole impassioned speech. I have waited 34 years for that fucking... Like, there's a part of me that, like, wants to keep self-destruction around in my back pocket just to throw it out and see what happens because I want that speech. Never
But
had
you're
it.
not
Instead.
you're not a mess enough for that.
No,
I've given that speech,
I get
by
that.
the way.
I get that.
I've given that speech.
I'm
Daniel's like,
glad
listen,
that I'm
not only have I climbed that mountaintop,
No,
but you
I-
will never summit it.
I did.
Ever.
With my last girlfriend, it's sort of what ended us was towards the end of our relationship. In a period of a few months, my fucking had lost the startup company I was with, like the job that I was both an internet TV host for them and their lead web designer. I lost both of those positions. The company was going under. They owed me like $8,000, $10,000 in back pay that they didn't pay me. My credit had gone to shit because I'd been missing all these bills waiting for various checks to come. My mother died.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. The girlfriend I was with at the time, we went through a little breakup thing just prior to that. So I was sort of had to win her back. So there was, and then I started drinking, to sort of deal with all this shit. And it was a variety.
As the schedule goes.
Of
yes.
course.
Yeah, it was a variety of problems across a spectrum. It was basically, literally the lowest point of my entire life.
Rock bottom.
And when she kind of came back into my life, I naively assumed I was going to get that speech. Some sort of like, let's clean you up, slap me about the face, drink some fucking water, you lush, and let's get you out there. And instead, all I got was everything I did was wrong. Like the way I fucking packed the dishwasher, the way I drove, the way I parked, the way, the way I
The
phrased
polar
the joke
opposite
on
of what
stage.
your expectations
Exactly.
were.
Yeah. It was like, all I got was, yes, you're a piece of shit, and here's a list of reasons why.
Oh, let me
And it
confirm
was
all
like-
the worst things that
Yeah.
you think about yourself.
So
It's
that
funny.
that destroyed me as a person for a number of months before it finally she was like, well, now that I've kind of broken you down to like a shell of a man, I'm gonna go fuck off with this rock star guy that I just met. And hey, have fun. And I was just like, ugh. But then, so now I gotta have all that inside. But what I'm saying is that would be the time. That's where it was like, if she would have come in with some kind of, build me up, you're better than this.
Win
kinda
one for the Gipper.
If she would have done that speech, I'd be married right now.
I know. You know what is so funny, and this is.
I mean, I would.
I
I'd
have
be
some
married
bad
to the love
news
of my
for you.
life. I'd be like, this is the greatest person of all time. When I was at my lowest, she built me up because that's what you want.
Right.
But no, I didn't have.
I
that.
have some really bad news for you,
Uh-oh.
and this applies to me too, because as people,
Those people don't exist. They only
no,
exist in the movies?
they absolutely
Oh, okay.
exist. They absolutely exist, but they're never going to exist for you. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because you're not
you
the
so
kind
high.
of person that I don't get sugar daddies because I am never, it's not that I'm not cute enough. It's not that I don't have, there's plenty of girls that are not even close to as attractive as I am or have a good of a figure or is funny, whatever. It's not that I'm
You
not
go, girl.
worthy of a sugar daddy, but I don't the kind of person that I am does not warrant a sugar daddy. I'm way too independent.
Right,
I'm loud enough, and you're not a narcissist who's going around subtly. To warrant that kind of a speech, you need to be emotionally unavailable. And look, this is not something you can really even create. You're either this kind of way or not.
Sure.
You need to be emotionally unavailable. You need to be a bull in a china shop emotionally in your own life and in her life. You need to be a complete and utter acute narcissist and just destruction. You know what I mean? And treat her like shit and then treat her like a queen. And treat her like shit and treat her like a queen. That's the
And
only
she's got to
way.
love that fucking Stockholm syndrome kind of thing.
Yeah, because she
thrives on it.
That speech comes from a untreated Al-Anon. That's what we would call it in our recovery.
A what?
Untreated Al-Anon.
Okay.
So somebody who is attracted to alcoholics or drug addicts
or dysfunctional kind of dynamics.
People who feel that their purpose in life, they get a feeling of
Fixing the building,
self-esteem by fixing the building.
They don't feel complete or whole
Well,
if they're
I'm
not
talking
fixing
like
somebody else.
even in a miniature way. If I had a bad show, having like a you'll get them next time, or like
a little rah action.
I'm
something
sure
like
you
that,
you mean,
but yeah, no,
you'll have
I'm with
that,
you
and you've had
on
that.
on the big dramatic scale.
talking about, baby?
Yeah,
I'll
I
tell you
kind of
after
hope
every
I
show.
never, because I don't think it'll. In my head, I don't think it'll ever go that low again.
But I'm saying
But,
ultimately you will be with somebody who will give you an element, a microcosm
Sure.
of that speech.
That's
but it's
all I
not
really
going to
want.
be right. It's not going to be the kind of person that's going to dive into the depths of hell that you were in. Is either someone you've been with for years.
Right.
And is
Or
truly
somebody
a
who's
partner,
addicted to that. Right.
or someone who's addicted to that,
Right.
not somebody
There's
that you're
no
rekindling
middle
with.
ground there at all.
Yeah.
There's no. It's like, I mean, if they're gonna give you that speech and then like the next 3 weeks they're just gonna hang out, no, it's gonna be the most fucking turbulent emotional roller coaster
Exactly.
that you could possibly
Sure.
be strapped into.
Because
that's why during that time, or just after that time, when we broke up and everything else like that, and I moved out to Hollywood, I just buried myself in random folks. I mean, it was because I was just like, look, I just need to feel anything but fucking
Right.
lowest of the low, and
but there are. It is a very.
they tell you that doesn't work, but I'm telling you, it worked.
Distractions. Distractions are
man.
fucking
Well, it's not so much
amazing.
distraction. It was like
Throwing himself at people.
Yeah, it was like
Into people.
It's like if the building went down, and I was like, "Fuck, I don't have the time or the money to get a construction crew out here." And instead, somebody was like, "I've got a brick," and I'm like, "Yeah, put the brick on there. That's fine." And then after a while, I was like, "Holy shit, castle's rebuilt."
Right.
Basically, that's basically what happened.
Right, but then arguably,
But they were all like mismatched bricks that weren't that great.
Yeah, I mean,
but whatever.
I mean,
I'm going over it
I don't,
now.
I don't think fucking different people is a brick for everybody. Is what I'm trying to say.
Sure,
you know what I mean.
sure.
If that was a brick for you,
Look, I'm just
congratulations.
opening up about me.
Right.
You open up about you. I'm trying to return the favor.
Well, and it is bad news about that speech. It's also bad news that I will never have the right guy on my front lawn with a boombox and Chuck Taylor serenading me within your eyes.
Sure,
that
sure,
sucks.
yeah.
It sucks. I'll never be that I'll never have a sugar daddy. That fucking sucks.
Does it suck though?
It does. Yeah, it does
Really?
suck.
Okay.
It does.
I would think that you'd.
What is it
feel
that sucks
like,
specifically?
That she'll
Never
never
gonna
have a sugar
daddy.
I feel like no.
No.
I feel like-
I
'cause
full
then
on
you
fucking
feel
want
like
one.
but that's
Man.
very easy to do.
Yeah.
No,
you can-
it isn't. But
No.
here's the thing: it isn't. It isn't. It is easy for me to go on a site like sugardaddy.com
Sure.
or makingarrangements.com.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, making arrangements,
and
yeah.
basically to me that's prostitute. See, okay. A lot of people
we
would
go.
argue
Break it
that
down.
having a sugar daddy is a prostitute, and I don't. And maybe it is. And technically speaking, I have no issue with being a prostitute. I really don't.
Sure.
But for me, and we can talk about delusion. I mean, again, it's getting into delusion. Like when you strip it away, it's somebody giving me money, or indirectly it wears something in exchange for my sex. You know what I mean? And I am totally fucking fine with that. What I don't want is to fuck some guy and have him leave cash on the table. I'm not fine with that. And some may say that that's being delusional because essentially it's the same thing. I don't care.
I'm actually confused as where is the
I can
difference
see.
between those two?
I can see the delineation that you're
Yeah,
making. I can see
because
Is
one
it the unexpected cash on the table?
I know.
No.
I feel like what it is more like I feel like and please correct me if I'm wrong and try to sort of tease this
I'm
out.
surprised that you're on with me on this because
Well,
normally I think you would yell at me.
it's not necessarily that it's not necessarily that I
I thought you were gonna yell at me and be like, "You're being fucking delusional."
No. I'm not even. Well, I haven't gotten there yet, but I think I'm just trying to sort of sort of extrapolate the point that you're making to Mitch's confusion. But I think the dynamic that you're kind of trying to separate out is a sense of like with the sugar daddy versus more sort of like direct escort prostitution kind of thing. It's that sense of like it's a relationship of like I'm gonna like take care of these needs or whatever. Sugar daddies don't have the same thing of like I just want to buy someone like put some fucking money on the dresser because I gotta get my rocks off or whatever. It's that sense of like I want to like take care of someone and pamper someone and like invest my affection and attention or whatever. So like when we go places, I can be like, yeah, like look at who I'm with or whatever. Versus just like, hey, meet me in this fucking hotel room, and then here's an envelope, and I'm out. I'll see you 2 weeks from now.
Right, transactional versus like this drawn out. And the other thing, I assume
there's a degree.
I assume there's the element of the sugar daddy thing is that that feeling of like this is just how it is. Like at no point does he suddenly consider me an equal. I'm not building towards anything.
Right.
I'm just a constant whore, as opposed to like a whore on the clock. I get it. All right.
Yeah, and I don't consider. To me, I don't like.
And I use whore affection.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I don't.
And we've all been whores. It's okay.
There's an emotional aspect of the sugar daddy relationship that is not present in a John trick, trick relationship.
There's at least a sense of there's some kind of intimacy in some kind of way, which is not necessarily present.
Yeah. And that's got
there's
to
a
be
familiarity.
right.
You get to know the person. There's connection.
It's been. I mean, I've known maybe 2 or 3 in my life, like very rich guys who had girls like that. In their
Do you
lives.
still know them? And are they looking for a sugar daddy who's 10 years past her sugar daddy prime?
Those guys, they want it.
Most of them. I mean, like I get those guys out of my life because that's not their only problem.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Like it goes the other way.
Of course.
The guy who wants to be a sugar daddy is fucked up in unimaginably terrible ways.
Absolutely.
And so no, that I guess if I was trying really hard, I could get you in contact, but I wouldn't do that to you.
Mitch, you need to go to the old Rolodex right now and see if you got any files.
I just wouldn't. I'd feel like a terrible human being for doing that. But
I mean, unfortunately, in LA, all
it's-
sugar
it's
daddies are
fucked
Armenian,
up.
and I'm not into that.
Yeah, there you go. It's fucked up because it's really awkward when you're the friend of somebody who's doing that, and you're seeing it happen in front of your eyes, and you're
You're
just
a
like,
friend of the rich dude or
of the rich
okay.
guy, and you're just like, you know what I mean? Because you're like, this is so obviously.
Well, the conversations that they have with you are so awkward,
Right.
You know, where
And
they like the boast and the sort of braggadocio about it. You're just like, man, I really need
No,
to
that's
be...
just it. It's not even so much that.
Well, I guess that's
they have this. They sort of. They're like stealing something off the counter while staring at your eyes, and then just walking out the door, and you're
Like
like,
they
you
indicted
just
you in
stole,
the-
and they're like, what are you talking about? I just got some gum, and you're like, but you fucking took it off the counter. And they're like, I needed some gum. I've got some gum, and they won't admit that they stole. It would be like that. It's the same kind of thing where like. I don't know if they deluded themselves or they just don't want the fucking judgment from you.
Right.
Yeah,
But they're kind of
probably,
like, no,
yeah.
she's a good, she doesn't have a lot of
Oh,
money.
they always
so
they
it's
fall,
like,
yeah, they
why
fall back.
should she
I think
have
a
to
lot
pay
of times
for it,
I've noticed they
Yeah.
always fall back on like all the nice things that they provide or whatever. Where
Yeah,
they're like, no,
yeah,
look, like I got this for her and I got that. Like,
Yeah,
look how
yeah.
much she happy or whatever. Like, look at all these good things that I'm doing, which I feel like that's kind of what you're saying, right?
I mean, I worked for a guy who fucking bought a car for a girl, and then
blows my mind, bro.
And then he had it repoed when she started. He saw her like make out with some guy, and he
As
repoed.
he should.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's part of the transaction, but it was like one of those things where I was like, "How did you not see this going wrong?" You
It's
know what
on
I mean?
his fucking credit. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
look, you know what though, and to
Well, the way
speak to
he
him
did it
though,
actually was that he co-signed for her on the car and
I
then
see.
paid for it, so that when he had it repoed, it didn't go on his credit, it
I
went on
see.
hers.
See, that's what I'm saying. So yes,
Like,
your man
wow.
probably anticipated that little
Oh,
faux pas.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
not some sort of rookie in the old sugar daddy pool. You know what I
No.
mean? He's
No, you got to work that.
he's got a
shit out.
template
Yeah.
for his contracts and
Yeah.
his
It's just-
co-sign deals.
It's a terrible, destructive. It's I don't know. It's gross as fuck. It's
well,
really what it comes down to.
maybe you feel that way. I don't.
You do though. You just don't want.
Maybe, but I want to try it. I want
Right.
to experience that for myself.
So
You know what
is
I
there
mean?
is there a particular thing? Because like when I've heard stories of the things that dudes are willing to offer women in this sort of sugar daddy kind of
Sure,
role,
sure.
it boggles the mind to think that you would approach someone and be like, "Do you want a boat?" Damn, and that's how your
I would-
conversation kicks off.
I
No,
can,
that-
I can
I
give
don't-
you some insight
I don't
on
think that necessarily happens like that all
I
the
mean,
time.
not all the time, but that does. I mean,
will also-
it does, like, very quickly once they start like broaching conversation, then like I mean they'll like what would you like, and then they'll be like, do you want a boat? They'll just start naming things. I know that's a very sort of common thing. I don't think it's all the
Yeah,
time.
that's
but, like,
not the kind of relationship I would ever want.
No,
I'm
it's.
just-
I'll tell you, like
that's out there
when,
lurking for you.
When a girlfriend I had became a stripper while we were dating, she worked at a gentleman's club. You know what I'm saying? So they had the rooms, and it was like she liked the day shifts because she was like, it's predictable, it's not as scary, the people aren't as drunk, and you don't have to deal with so many people. You deal with like 3 or 4, and they spend the shit out of all their money on you.
Right.
Because they are just in that sugar daddy mindset.
because they want to feel special,
Right,
as well.
and they're in that. So the way it goes, it starts off with, how are things going? She's gonna complain about something. If you can think of quickly a way that money would help solve that problem, you throw it out there. Now a boat, while hey, cool.
No,
She's not going, I need to get across the Atlantic.
It was just an
but-
example of a
No,
fucking.
no,
but I mean,
I
that's
do.
the kind of thing where
I'm
like, do
saying
you
it's-
like what is
it's
it? I can
little
get
pieces.
anything.
It's little pieces. It's
Yeah.
like because he wants to see how she responds to it. He wants to, if she's like, no, I don't take money from, I don't do that. Like I'm doing this right now, which it's a really hard line stance to take when you're a stripper to be like, I don't take just money. All right. I don't just take people. I work hard. It's like, no, you don't. You sit around naked and somebody stuffs money in your panties. So it's like you're already kind of foot in the door of the sugar daddy mentality. So they'll start offering feel you out on different shit. And then, over time, yeah, they'll up the presence. I mean, there was girls that she worked with that literally they hadn't paid rent in 2 years and drove a brand new car that they traded in every year.
Now that is bananas.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, obviously there's all different kinds of sugar
So if you
daddies.
stop,
I mean, when
you stop getting on stage to tell jokes and instead get up there to shake your titties for a couple of bucks, you can find yourself a sugar daddy.
well,
Craigslist
yeah.
is good too.
But there's different kinds. Like if you go to makingarrangements.com, you can, when you go on the site, because I've gone on it before
Yeah.
just to see what it's about, you basically lay out what you want. I want money for rent. I want this and this and that. And that's making arrangements, which is how
Right.
that works.
Sure.
Sugar daddy, like
But the
sugar
problem with those sites, I'm sorry to cut you off, but the problem with those sites is that it makes it seem as though a guy's just going to be like, oh, good, because I've been wanting to buy a car for somebody, which is like not the case. There's
Some of those
a
dudes.
lot of women that go on there with this expectation that they can just make a bunch of fucking demands and there'd be a guy who's just going to pay them for it.
It's not that
smarter,
way?
No, it's
I can't accept that.
a smarter way, and the way that I've known women who have done it is they talk up all the great things about themselves, and they're not real sure how they feel about this, but it would be nice to not have to worry about this small bill in my life. But I love older men, and I love this, and I all these great things about me. You know what I mean? And how
I don't know.
and
My
it-
girlfriend was on it, and she basically just said, "I need $2,500 a
Yeah,
month."
dude, I really can't go with you on
Did
that
she
bridge,
did
bro.
you get it though?
Yeah, of course.
can't go
She
with
had
you.
to interview a lot of different guys, and I don't know why.
But like
she,
the offers are gonna come.
Well, she said she had to interview a lot of different guys because she wanted to find someone that was the right fit. I don't know if that means there was guys that weren't into it or whatever, but like she really didn't have any problems. She just
I feel like
basically told them.
it's just a matter of like, oh, I have
Also-
options.
And also, what she did was, and I guess I don't know what she did on her profile. So
Sure.
she might have done that on her profile, but in person, what she did was she said, "What do you need? Why are you on this site?" Because 99% of these guys are married. So
Sure.
they're all. What are you looking for? Are you looking for, is your wife a paraplegic, and you really are looking for a main relationship while you have to take care of your sick wife?
Sure.
Or do whatever it is. And so based upon how much time they expected from her and what they wanted from her, she gave a price.
Sure.
And that's how it was.
Sure.
And I
Well,
don't.
see, but that's what I'm saying. That's more than just the girls I've known. They're like, oh, I could just go on there and ask for money. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
I guess
not
you're right.
that's all
Yeah.
I'm saying is that
It
it's
sounds
not,
like
Right.
she has a little bit more refined
Yeah.
approach. She's thought it through.
Well, that's
She's-
more
this is-
straight up prostitution.
she's
I ain't got no
clearly
time to fuck around.
She's thought it out ahead of time. She's got a plan. She's got the mindset prepared for it. Things like that.
Sounds like a veteran.
Whereas somebody who's just like, oh, I don't even have to fuck these guys. I can get free money. Those girls are the ones that are like, they'll get
There's a
tossed
good example
20
of
bucks
that.
by like a programmer
MTV
and-
True
you know what I
Life. MTV True Life always they had an episode recently where it was like I'm involved with the sugar daddy kind of thing. One of the girls is based out here in LA, and she was trying to play the whole angle of like, I'm not gonna give sex or whatever, you know, like I'm not gonna do that. And it was kind of, you're just watching it to like wait until that sex hammer drops, and then it all just ends very poorly.
I'm offended by. I just want to side note and say I'm really fucking offended by women who think that they can have a sugar daddy and don't have to give up sex. I think that's fucking obnoxious.
It's a fascinating thing. You would probably be very interested to watch her development over the course of this episode because, you know, she goes out to dinner with this guy and he's clear, like it's very obvious from him that he's like, that sex is gonna come out at some point. And you basically are watching her just try to avoid the inevitable for as long as possible. He even calls her at one point and is like, you know, you gotta, you know, this is an arrangement here. You gotta, you know, turn up the heat in the kitchen. And says,
had he been giving her stuff already?
He had already, like, he paid for like a dress for her. She's like trying to work and do singing and do music videos and stuff. Sure. So he paid for a dress. He was like, oh, just give the store my card when she called him up on the phone with her friend. So he'd already dropped a solid amount of money for her. And then he was supposed to provide like a limo and some other stuff for her to go to some big event. And then as she was getting ready and getting pampered, getting her makeup on, she's just like, I'm checking on the limo, and they're like, yeah, we have no order for you. And then she called that dude up, and he was like, I'm with my family. Click. And he dropped that game on her. And she just was just devastated, obviously, because she's like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. But he was just like, he was so casual. He's like, yeah, listen, I'm hanging out, I'm dinner with my kids right now, so like I can't really talk to you. Bye.
Good.
Yeah. You got
but that's how that.
And
it was amazing though. It's I mean, you know, where it's like some of the things you're saying, where it's like, if you were going to pursue that path, I can't imagine that you would really be able to think to yourself like, I'm just gonna get out of this with not giving up sex. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I actually,
I mean, that's the
or like I'm gonna get as much as I can and then like break the fuck off.
That's
before.
the general assumption of women who are just like, I'm just gonna check it out. And
then they get the money and they're like,
they've usually heard about it through a friend, and it's like, no, there's no sex involved. And it's like, to get into one of those, there's no sex involved, is like I said,
almost
strip club thing is
it is a little bit more unsettling though, because you're like, what is your
absolutely.
motivation now? You know, like it's not as straightforward.
I mean, I knew a girl who went on kind of curious and whatever have you, and didn't really, I don't even know if she asked for anything. She was just kind of like, I want to see what this whole thing is about, you know, whatever.
Right.
And talked to a guy, you know, sent her a couple of like little items, knickknacks and whatever have you. She lived in the same town as him. He wanted to take her out to dinner and all this stuff, and it was a real fancy restaurant, blah, blah, blah. He sent her a dress to wear on the date, so she was she was into that. And he spent a lot of money and things like that, and he was asking her just casually about her finances at some point. And then she had gotten up to go to the bathroom. She came back, and he dropped like $5,000 in her purse or something like that. And she's like, yeah, I ended up giving him a hand job. I was like, did he ask for it? She's like, no, he was driving me home. And I just was like, you know what? This guy's been real good. I just pulled it out. You know, gave him a little handy and he was just like,
dude, if a guy dropped $5,000 in my purse, he's getting a full-on blowjob.
You heard it here first, kids.
With ball work and everything. I mean,
oh wow, you're throwing in ball work.
Full on, the full treatment.
$5,000 hand job,
a
bro.
spa day for men, if you will.
Were there no oils involved in that hand job?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm not saying that my blowjob cost $5,000. I'm just saying that if you were to,
you're saying that at the very least, you're saying that if $5,000, there's a blowjob a coming. That doesn't mean that that's the cost. I get it.
That's the floor as opposed to the ceiling, if you will. Kind of
yeah.
thing.
Oh, I thought that was okay. All right.
There's probably multiple blowjobs. You know what I mean? I mean,
blow you, your friend, your dad. What do you got?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
I can't say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. But
so she
again,
just came back with like 5,000 straight cash in her purse.
Yeah. Which
that would solve so many of my problems.
That's what
First of all, your man was rolling around with 5,000 pocket change.
I know, and that's what I'm saying is like her, because I asked her the same thing, and she was like, "Look, he clearly like knew what was up. He knew to like not make her beg for money." He just was sort of asking her about her finances, because everybody's got something where they can be like, yeah, I'm really having. And so she got up and he put it in the thing, and then he ordered another thing of wine or whatever the fuck. They finished up, and he's like, let me give you a ride home. You got your purse with you? And she looked down and she was like, oh my God, it's open, and then saw the money, and he was like, Where'd that come from? You know what I mean? Let me give
weird.
You. So that's where she was
Sexy.
like, yeah. Danielle's all turned on over here.
Sexy.
I'm gonna have to clean these leather seats.
I'm straight boner right now.
Yeah. I got it.
I'm gonna have to clean these leather seats. Is going on the board right now. That's
Now what's
been a while since we've had.
I'm just saying that's the slick way. I mean, if you're gonna do it, that's the way to do it. And she didn't really stick around with the that much because she, in her head, she was like, well, I fucked up by giving him a handy that quickly because like shortly thereafter he was like, okay, that's the price for a hand job. You know what I mean? And like. Then every time he did anything for her, he was like expecting something, and if nothing happened, it was even less later, to where it's like at $500 and fuck him in the ass or something like that. You know what I mean? It was like because that's the way it works. If you just go giving a willy nilly hand job the first time you get $5K, that might be the last $5K.
Right.
He's not going to think, oh, how much would I get for $10K because he didn't expect that in the first place. So he might drop a little bit more. And she ups the ante. She's like, I want to keep the money going. So she blows him. And it's like, well, that was only $2,000 that time. So he's thinking like, oh, okay, got this. This is easy. All I had to do is drop
honestly,
the
I'd just be
amounts.
happy with the 5K even if we never saw each other again after that. I mean,
Right.
She's giving a big fucking
This is
thorough high
once
five,
again-
and it's like, I'm out.
I'm
Yeah,
very short-sighted
That
when
would
it
be
comes to this
that
kind
would be
of
once
stuff.
again. You were talking about why you couldn't end up with a sugar daddy. That would be there's
'Cause I
no
don't know how to
way.
play the
There's no
game.
way he's going to be like, oh well, that's it. I got a hand job. I'm done.
Right.
You know what I mean? If he thinks I got unsolicited hand job after dropping $5K in her purse.
Well,
So,
I'll also tell you
know?
that I would never feel right about, like, he dropped 5K in my purse, I jerked him off, we're good. Like, I would never feel like
Debt paid.
yeah, like that like it's even a playing field. So I don't feel like I could not return his call. Like, that's the thing about the 5K. It's like,
You say he calls you the next day and he's like, so did you pay off that bill? You do a little shopping for yourself?
yeah,
get
like
yourself-
it would have to be. I don't even know if it
mean,
would
what do
be
you do, hang up the phone?
enough sexual acts. I think because I don't think I think it would more have to be time, like enough. I don't see. That's the thing. It's like I can't.
Yeah, see, it's all part of that long con. Like there's certain situations like that where it's like
Long game.
if you know how to play this particular game,
Yeah, I don't.
you know what I mean?
But
Like
that's because I've never been invited to play.
I worked for a woman at 3 different companies. 2 of them were adult companies, and one of them was a finance company. I worked under her. I wouldn't say I worked for her per se. She was a manager of like the department that I worked at when I worked at Vivid, and she was in that job for like 3 years before getting ousted. And then she went off to start another adult company where she was managing, and I went over there some years later. And then she later got me a job at this finance company where she was a manager. In the combined 5 years that I worked alongside her, never even found a person who could prove to me a single thing that she ever did. Mm-hmm. Like nothing. Like no. If you walked into her office, she was on the phone chatting about a party. She was IMing, on her computer on Google.
What was
IM
her
or
job
something
title? Manager of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Different things.
Manager of
you know.
Dick.
She was at Vivid. She was the department manager of Dick, because they split the office into Hustler on one side and Vivid on the other, and she managed the Vivid side of the online empire, if you will. And yet, we would have, why is there like talking or something?
Yeah,
Is
what
there,
you got
like,
going
is
on
there
there?
a
What do you
video
got going on? You got
something?
video in the background there?
I don't know. Let me just go ahead and mute that anyway. And so we would have meetings that would go like 2 hours, and we didn't talk about business. She just wanted to talk shit about like other adult webmasters or different sites or things like this. And it was nothing ever got done. And she'd ask me to do stuff, and she'd be like, "Oh, it needs to be done by tomorrow midday." I'd finish it. I'd email it to her. 3 months later, she'd be like, "Did you ever finish that thing?" And I'd be
Oh
like,
my
"Holy
God.
fuck!" This woman never did it. Now, in my mind, I'm like, I could not pull off a con that long. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
Right.
because, at the last like office job I had, I worked there for almost a year. For the last 6 months of working there, they didn't have anything for me to do. But nobody seemed to realize that. So they'd come in and be like, "I don't know if you're really busy, but if you could just," and I'd be like, yeah, I'll get around to it. And I'd take 3 days to do it. But I basically did nothing for 6 months. Mm-hmm. And every day I was like, what if somebody comes in here and asks me what I'm working on? I
Right.
don't have an answer.
Right.
I would just keep empty documents open and just hope. Because I was like, again, what do I do if they go, what have you been working on? What have you been working on this month? What have you done this month? I'd be like, well, gone. The game's up.
You're like, well, I come in at about 10. I stare at the computer for about 15 minutes. It's like that Office Space
exactly,
thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So in her situation, that's the same kind of thing. If you would have sat down and been like, what do you fucking do? What do you do? What have you done? What are you working on right now?
Well, I'll tell you
What
something.
you gonna do?
That long
have
con. No. See, that long con. Do you have an extra? Is there another soda in there?
Yeah, sure.
That kind of long con person,
Right.
has an answer. Oh, trust me, she has a
Oh,
fucking
I'm
answer.
Listen, if you
it's
do
a
not
fluffy answer, but she has.
you
one.
don't embark on the long con
Right.
without having at least 90% of your answers already premeditated. Okay.
Right.
And these we're talking about just your average long conners.
Cherry
Okay.
Coke
Sure,
Zero.
sure.
Sorry, I'm very impressed that there's a Cherry Coke Zero.
Yeah, right?
That's
Zero.
Mitch's
Greatest
thing.
thing
That's
ever.
Mitch's thing,
isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah. Still tastes the same.
You know, your real top-notch long conners, though.
Sure.
They're gonna have all the details mapped out. Okay, there's not gonna be a question that they will feel that they have not anticipated in some variety that
Yeah.
they can then revert back into.
I'll give you a very
Masters of the
a very
domain.
weird example that I had from my let's say late childhood, early teens.
Bushka's a long con.
Bushka's, he keeps promising me love. When I was about like I think 11 or 12, it was after my parents had gotten divorced. My mom had dated a few guys. She dated a guy who lived in our apartment complex. We had one of those huge Phoenix apartment complexes. It was like 400 fucking apartments spread across 3 miles of fucking.
So
expanse.
depressing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So he lived.
No, you're right,
In a,
though. You're
he
right.
lived in a separate. You're definitely right. He lived in a separate apartment complex, and in his parking spot, he had a motherfucking DeLorean, and then he had a guest parking spot with a Mercedes. And in his house, it was all rich mahogany and leather-bound books, and very fancy guy. And at some point, he ended up wanting. My mom moved him into our apartment, and I don't know how that came up. I just know that at one point he lived in our apartment. In our apartment, he had a full size. This is, by the way, this is like 91, maybe 92. Had a full size photocopier. Like the kind of shit that you'd see.
Like in an office?
Yes.
Like
I'm
a
not-
Xerox
Your man was
fucking...
A
balling,
Xerox
son. Your man was
stand up.
balling.
It was about 5 feet tall.
Damn, B.
You know what I'm saying? Like a huge fucking.
So did he? I'm sorry. Did he give up his apartment in the building and move into yours, or did they kind of
Yes.
have both units?
I think that he had moved into our apartment. I think at first they may have split the thing.
What did he
but
do
I
with the
remember
DeLorean?
At one point, well, that's what I'm getting.
Okay.
What's interesting is at one point he was like, I have to go drop off some things at my other apartment, and pick up some other shit. And I went with him to this other apartment that was like a tower. It was very weird. It was like in the middle of a field. It was this tower of a thing, and he owned all. Excuse me. According to him, he owned all floors, and they were all connected by a staircase in the middle of the living room. So it was like it was 4 stories. It had an airplane hangar. I went in there. He had an airplane and another DeLorean and a fucking.
Wait, your man had a DeLorean and an airplane hangar?
Right. Now
Two
here's
DeLoreans, two.
Yeah.
Wait,
he had 2
what is
DeLoreans, an
happening?
airplane hangar, an airplane, and a 4-story apartment. Now what's weird is when we were at this place, it looked like a mess. It looked like a storage area, basically. But it was, again, 4 stories, but just shit everywhere. Look, today you'd call him a hoarder.
Right.
And
could probably call him a hoarder back then.
this guy stayed with us for 3 some odd years. And during that time.
As her lover?
Yeah.
Okay.
And during that time.
That's a long ass time.
During that time, he never worked. He never went out and got a job. He'd sit on the couch and he'd take phone calls. He had a fax machine and the photocopier. Don't know what he did with them. And whenever I would ask, like, he would tell these wild, crazy stories that I was like, that can't even be real. But I'm young and dumb, and I was like, okay. The whole time he would say maybe once every 3 or 4 months that he's waiting. He's closing this business deal with his partner, and he's just waiting on his $10 million check from the sale of the business.
Naturally.
That went on for 3+ years.
Wow.
And I have no idea. Like
That's a hell of a long game.
I literally don't know what he told my mom to keep this con going. I don't know how he was able to trick her into not wondering about this tower apartment, why he lived in our tiny little 3-bedroom thing that already wasn't very big enough for the 3 of us, much less some grown dude and all of his office fucking equipment.
But you know
It was
what's-
all these kinds of things, and somehow that never came up over the course of 3 years.
Yeah, but you know what's weird to me is that Do you actually think that $10 million check mattered to your mother at all? Like, do you think she was...
but he did things like what
that sounds
really,
like his issue.
What really fucked with me, like kind of an emotional standpoint, as weird as it might sound, he took us out in Phoenix. There's a place called Pinnacle Peak. It was like out in the edge of the desert where you could buy, you know, just huge a mass of land for like $1. It was like the cheapest shit ever. And he was like, we're gonna move into one of these houses. And we went and looked at houses that in '91 were $400,000 houses, which in '91 in Phoenix
that
in
would
Pinnacle
be like
Peak,
$1 million.
No, today those are like 2-3 million
Okay.
easy. Yeah, because the house I lived in high school that my mom and my stepdad, later guy, ended up buying was 125,000. And then in 2006, I think it was, I looked it up and it was worth 785,000.
Wow.
And I was like, Jesus! In the course of like not even a decade. So these houses that we were looking at that were already $300,000-$400,000, and there was one we went to that was $1.1 million. And granted, size of scale, when you grow up, everything looks bigger.
Right.
My recollection was that it looked like somebody wanted to build the White House in the desert. It was enormous. It was like 15, 20 rooms.
Wow.
So we would look at all these houses. I'm talking like he'd talk to the real estate person, put in an offer, you know, things like this. He got to such a degree, I slept in one of the houses. You know, he was like, we're moving in next week, you know, if you want to stay here tonight. And I was like, awesome. Yes, I do.
Well,
and I slept in what would be my room. And then...
My friend's
nothing.
mom is married to a guy like that. It's all the same thing. I mean,
Really?
It's not the DeLorean, but it's, you know, it's all of those things. And we don't really know what his backstory is. I mean, my guess is he must have gotten some things in a divorce. There must have been a trust somewhere where at one point he had money. I mean, he does
Came into a
own
big
these
windfall
things.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Or somebody died and he got these things. I mean, he owns these things.
Sure.
But it is sort of, you know, in this, it's not, I don't think with this particular dude, and it sounds like with your
Right.
it wasn't actually a con because he wasn't really trying to get anything as much as it was his own illness. Like, he thought these things were happening. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like,
It's less of him trying to fleece something out
and
of your
more
mom.
about trying to validate the stories he's told
Right,
himself.
just trying to keep his own
Well,
facade
this
intact.
one
essentially.
did actually turn out to be a con. All that shit.
What
that
was he trying to get?
All those
a place
different.
to live?
I
Or was he
no,
just- he
I'm
just
guessing.
was-
I'm guessing he just like had no. He basically his options had
Destitute
run out.
kind of thing?
Yeah, his options had run out, and then he.
But
hopped
what
in
if-
with
why
another.
couldn't he have
Now,
lived in the
all
storage
those-
unit?
Yeah, all those things. Those were actually that belonged to his business partner.
I see.
So,
well, I
like
mean,
the
I guess-
DeLorean, the business partner paid for that extra spot for the DeLorean. That's
I
why
see.
he had 2 parking spots, because his business partner was like, look, I don't know where the fuck to put it. And then
Yeah.
was ultimately like, oh, I bought this place where I just store all my shit. Come park it in the airplane hangar alongside my other DeLorean. And that's why we went out there. Like, these are the things I found out way later in life.
Right,
You know what I'm
right. And
saying?
you know,
But yeah, yeah.
actually, arguably, this man that my friend's mom is married to could possibly have the same sort of story. But he's constantly
But
doing
they're
stuff like
still
putting
married? Like,
offered
they're
in.
constantly-
Well, she can't. She doesn't have an income. She married him because she thought. I mean, I don't know if she ever loved him, but she married him because she thought he had money. You know what I mean?
right,
and
right.
and she found out that he doesn't. He's constantly putting. They were.
But I'm sure she did she get that impression because of what he led her to believe?
Yeah, and also, but here's the thing: they don't not have money because they were living in a hotel for like a long time.
A lot of people live in hotels these days.
But I don't mean like the fucking rent
Kinda
by
like
the hour
Ramada Inn
hotel.
kinda thing.
I mean like a Holiday Inn Express or
Yeah.
something. But they were living. If to live in a hotel for several months, there has to be some money somewhere.
Sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, there is actually a phenomenon. I think it's I think it might be Colorado, but there's a lot of people who have sort of been just caught in the midst of the downturn from the recession who just have been kicked out of their homes. So like the hotels now refer to them as the weeklies because they re-up every week to pay to live in the hotel essentially. So you've got a lot of hotels that are just like housing people.
Sure,
Because
sure.
there's this like middle ground between homelessness and so I don't know if that's necessarily your situation, but I think I like just.
But if
like,
you can afford, I mean, living in a hotel has got to be
it's a weird place
Weekly
because like
rates are different. I
Yeah,
will
so
tell
like
you that.
still
and you'll
$50 a night.
well, they'll buy out bulk kind of time in the hotel and stuff. So like
I see.
it's a really interesting phenomenon because the hotels have started to accommodate more long-term guests and
yeah,
you've
a
got,
lot of them have kitchens.
right,
and
you've got and
suites,
you'll go into the lobby and you'll see kids doing homework and stuff because there's all these families and such there. So I mean, I think that's the only reason why, listening to what you're saying is I mentioned that because I know that there are certain areas of the country where like hotels, which are already experiencing a sort of a bust because they don't have as much tourism or anything like that, they're sort of recalibrating themselves to be like this transitional housing for people who are in sort of destitute situations, especially for families, and they say, okay, well, we'll give you a break on, renting out for a month or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
And then, there's a lot of services that start to sort of attune themselves to hotels. So there's like kind of a weird shift happening in certain regions where hotels are just sort of like a safety net for people catching them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's on the American prospect.
I gotta say the situation your friend's mom is in. I mean, if she's not working, my mom was working the 4 jobs, so it was like it very weird, and it was one of those things I never really got to like ask her about to a great like detailed degree.
Oh yeah, because she's passed on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, even
Are you
it was
angry
like,
about it still?
no, I think it was just an interesting. I mean, I guess I'm angry on her behalf, but he never did anything
You're
wrong.
not angry at her.
Yeah. No, not angry at her. Definitely not.
Did you have you ever looked him up on Facebook or anything like that?
I don't even look. He went by initials.
Oh my god!
Like I
that's
never
so
knew his
shady.
name. I don't even remember what it was, like TJ, I think, or something like that. JT was his initials. That's all I knew him as, JT. I have no idea beyond that. His parents eventually, I guess my mom had ended up talking to his parents, and they were like, that's when like a lot of shit came out. Like, here's what this and so on and so forth. Because it was around the time my mom actually just went ahead and got a house for us, like on it with her own credit, with her own money. She was like, I bought a house. We're gonna go move into the house. And like my recollection was when she said that, he just left. But I don't. The timeline's a little funky.
You don't have a resource to thread everything back together.
Yeah,
Right.
and it doesn't. I mean, whatever. It's interesting, and it's sort of like one of those. I kind of forget
Weird
about
memories.
it. I
Yeah,
remembered
yeah.
it tonight, and I was like, why did I not? But I don't.
It's weird when those like
it's
weird
interesting.
childhood memories resurface, and you're like, okay, yeah, I really
And you
got
look-
no context for anything that happened, do I?
And you look at them through adult eyes, and it's like, wait a second, that what I always believed that to be doesn't make sense in adult
Right.
world.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah,
You know, and then you're like,
God damn,
what?
I was that. Okay, yeah, it makes sense. I was so gullible. Yeah, I just swallowed all that bullshit. Awesome,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, very strange.
It's. I mean, I think that's the thing too, where it's like, I've had a lot of situations recently, and I was talking with Mitch about this before the show, and my birthday's coming up, so I always get really reflective.
Happy birthday.
Well, thanks.
When's
I
your
appreciate
birthday?
it. May 4th.
Okay.
So I
May
got-
the 4th be with you.
Yeah, thank you. So I always just get really reflective around that time and just kind of process the past year and just a lot of things and stuff. And then, or just there'll be memories that will come in from something that'll be way back in my adolescence, and I'll be like, first of all, I can't even believe that was a fucking thing that happened. And then you're just like, you look at it like you're saying through adult eyes, and you're like, damn, like I really I'm lucky that I feel like I managed to make it through there, because of so many different external forces that were kind of pressuring.
Sure.
Especially when it comes to your parents and stuff, where you're like, oh, so that is why you brought this random person into my life who I hated and resented. Awesome. Good to know that that's why that was
Right.
happening. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's like my sister is now the age my mom was. Maybe actually, my sister might even be a few years older than my mom was around that time.
Yeah.
And she's got a boyfriend now. They have a kid and everything else like that. I'm sure they'll end up getting married. But prior to that, for a year and a half, 2 years, she was single and dating. And so she basically lived the exact life. She had
But
two
did she
kids
have
at
kids?
home.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, she had 2
Okay.
kids at home. And she works hard. She's she had a house. She always gave them a place to all was well. I mean, it wasn't
Right.
But
Right.
she had, when I went out there recently, we talked. She had related. She was like, yeah, it was weird to kind of go. I'm in the place in my life where mom was, after her divorce, and I'm at that same age, and so it's got to be very
Yeah.
strange for her to be like, like, what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like when
To
you see your parents
experience,
as human.
I
that
yeah,
kind
I
of
It
actually,
is very weird.
I had recently where recently I was like, I just realized that I passed that threshold of the age that my mom was when she had me. with my
Right.
dad. Like my dad was a couple
Oh,
years
yeah.
older than her, but that was just a very surreal moment where I was like, okay, that is that's a
My
lot.
mom had 2 children by now.
Yeah, right. And we
she
like
was-
that when you take that in, when you like really process that, you're just like, holy fuck, that is a lot to do right now. But it was I was like walking down the sidewalk and I just like stopped because I was like, oh fuck, that is what's going on right now. Damn, that's where I'm at in life.
Well, yeah, my dad's been married 3 times, so and probably in 1999, I remember I was living in Seattle, rainy night. I was talking to him on the phone for like 4 hours, and he explained how he met my mom all the way through to like about a month after the divorce. And I remember after I finished listening to it and everything, we hung up, and I was like, that literally could just be a friend of mine who like just went through all of that. Like, because the way that he explained it, because my mom was always like, when it came to the divorce thing, she's like, when you're old enough, I'll explain. Or then like for 3 years, she'd be like, you're old enough now. And every time it was a different reason. And I was like, what the fuck? So my dad broke it down in such a way that I was like, oh, fucking, that all makes way too much sense. It bothered me that it made sense because I wanted it to be this mystical thing that I didn't understand.
Your dad was like, let me just tell you all this logic and shit.
Do you ever think about your I do this sometimes, and I did it a lot more like when I first started to get that my parents were human. Who my mother was, like,
are your parents still together by chance?
No,
okay.
not at all.
Okay.
But who my mother was. Okay, so if I look at everybody as like who that character was in high school, right?
Okay. All
because that is sort of in a way like, and I try to think of like who was my mother in high school, or even in college or adult years or whatever, and who my dad was, like who. In my life, the characters that I know in my life, who would play my mom or my dad out of everyone that I know,
Sure.
And when I start to match those people up,
oh, that's a fucking trippy thought.
It's very trippy. But I will say that it really helped me. It fast forwarded more than anything. Forgiveness and understanding in both of my parents when I did that, because then they became a friend that I could, someone that I know that I could have compassion for. As a human, rather than a parent that I expected more from. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And there are, of course, some things that like I just got fucked on.
Did the person that you identified as would be your dad, were you like, I need to marry this man?
Oh God, no.
Right.
But I did end up.
There goes that theory.
No, but my dad isn't a good guy. So I mean, it's not. If I had, it usually goes in one or two directions, and usually when the experience with the father is positive, that's when that happens. When it's negative, it usually
that's
isn't.
when all hell breaks loose.
Yeah,
Although I have emulated my dad in a couple of boyfriends, unfortunately, and those were the boyfriends that I
This is
tended
during the
to
drinking
have.
days.
No. My last boyfriend was my dad.
Oh, okay.
Probably the closest to my father. And I don't really know why that was. I definitely don't think I sought him out, but I do think that he came into my life and I hooked into him deeper than maybe somebody else would because of that reason. I wasn't able to have logical, sound decision making around our relationship as much as I should have because of that element of it.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think that I sought him out. Like I don't date. My dad's a musician. I don't date musicians. Like I just don't across the board. Like it just doesn't happen.
I feel like that's
Kudos
kind of a
on
general
that.
kind of thing where you're like, if there's like that one kind of really identifiable aspect that you can kind of pinpoint, you're like, I'm going to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, I don't date crack addicts. My dad smoked crack. He was I don't date musician addicts.
Got like a real solid red line where you're like, listen, like you can be a lot of things, but like
meth, fine, but crack. It's not going to happen. It's too much like home.
Man, that's great. We've had a lot of meth things on the board as we round this show into its finale, but meth fine, not
But
crack.
crack.
Did you ever see Tideland, Terry
No.
Gilliam film? That'll either fascinate you or deeply depress you. I don't
It's
know.
called Tideland.
Yeah, it's a Terry Gilliam film, and it basically.
What else did he do?
Terry Gilliam? Oh shit, a whole bunch of stuff.
Man, all the bad
all the
things.
Monty Pythons. He was the director.
Okay.
And one of the writers. He's played like bit parts in them. He also directed Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Brazil, my favorite movie of all time.
Who's in Brazil?
It's like an old English film.
Okay.
I don't know. You
Brazil's
know it
one
if
of
you
those
saw it.
old Hollywood tales of just like a movie making experience gone.
That's why I got the
terribly
3-disc
awry.
set that's got all versions.
Yeah, it's just like a classic case of all the bad things happening in a movie making process.
Yeah, Terry Gilliam has the worst luck for making films. There's documentaries made on how terrible things go when he makes a film. It's just like 12 Monkeys, Baron von Munchausen, things like this. Anyway, Tideland it takes place like in the desert, and it's sort of this deadbeat dad, but he's a rocker musician played by Jeff Bridges. He's a musician guy. They live out in the desert in some like dilapidated like trailer, and he's got like this 8-year-old daughter. It's just the two of them, and it's sort of she's just an innocent like girl with a wild imagination wandering around in the desert, and it's sort of how she takes in the fucked up adult things that are happening with her dad through her 8-year-old brain.
So it's a very
you seen it?
I have seen portions.
It's fucking rough, right?
It's a fucking tough trip.
Yeah, I don't.
I did not. I don't think I finished it because I was watching it like late at night, and I was like, you know what? I'm out. I don't need all this right now. That's a bit of a dog day.
It's interesting. I mean, Terry Gilliam's my favorite, so like I'll watch pretty much anything he does. But it's not my favorite Gilliam film.
It's a tough watch.
It is a tough.
It's a
watch.
fucking tough movie
But
to watch.
it's oddly enough, I sounds like Bridges' character in the film. What very little you've told me about your dad is kind of the same kind of character. So I don't know if it would be a terrible idea for you to watch that, or be kind of like, oh, that's an interesting.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that either. My guess is
you should
that-
only know it within a few minutes of watching.
I don't mean to kick you right back into therapy for 20
No,
years.
no. It probably would probably not be a great.
Maybe
idea
catch a
for
trailer
me,
first,
but-
and then.
Well, that's so weird. As the trailer shows you fucking nothing. You're
Right.
like,
I think the trailer is very different between you and I versus Danielle. Danielle would probably pick out some things in the trailer.
That's fair. Now that you kind of know what it's about, like when I saw the trailer, I was like, "What? It's
would
just
just-
like a tree in
Oh,
a
this
desert."
looks like a feel-good desert film.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or just like shut down her
It's a
laptop and be
story
like,
of
I'm out for
of a
day.
daughter and her loving father in the desert,
Yeah.
and he plays music. This is wonderful.
No.
So it was
not a
it
thing.
was Terry Gilliam's. What he was trying to say is he was looking inside himself to deal with like the pain of life, and what he
Sort of that.
discovered when he looked inside himself was that he's an 8-year-old girl.
Right, and it's just the sort of the innocence of that.
So he
the
wrote
innocence-
it. He wrote it. Okay.
And the
Wrote
sort
and
of
directed,
innocence
yeah.
that embodies, and it's really just a very sort of brutal dissertation on watching innocence run against various jagged rocks of reality.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, it's certainly, I mean, it's one of those movies I feel like you watch it and you're like, all right, I got what I need to out of this experience, and I'm done. Forever.
Yeah, I would never own it on DVD or anything.
Yeah, I mean, like you see it once, you're like, we're good here.
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Brazil, though, that's good for repeat viewing. As is 12 Monkeys and
12
You know,
Monkeys
it's
is
funny.
solid.
I always get 12 Monkeys and 7 confused. I can't picture.
I used
12
to for a
Monkeys.
long
could
time
see that. I could
until
see
I
that,
used to, and then I saw 12 Monkeys, and then I was like, I still am gonna get confused.
And it's Brad Pitt and who else?
Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
And 12
Brad
Monkeys.
Pitt and Bruce Willis.
And is Ashley Judd in that?
I don't know if she is, but 12. You know, it's just so they're both.
Who's the girl? There must be a girl.
I can't remember.
There
But
is, but I don't remember.
I mean, like I have vague pieces of
have
things
the
in my
internet,
brain that can just enough delineate 12 Monkeys from 7. But it's
I think
it's
of Brad
only
Pitt's
because I've
haircut.
it's only
His
because I've
haircut's
worked
different.
really hard at it.
Right, that's true because he does
worked
have the
very,
same
very
haircut
hard.
in both of them. But no, I can't say that I've personally ever had that mix up. But I can.
I'm a riding with Danielle on this one, bro.
That's
It's
fine.
tough.
I
bro.
can
It's
kind of
tough.
see it just because of the.
You get a lot of
the
dystopian
girl is
fucking urban environments and shit.
Madeline Stowe, or Stowe.
I don't know who that name is.
Madeline
You know what? I just
Stowe.
realized. First of all, we've been doing this show for a long time. We've been in this spot for a while, and I did not realize that your fucking bulb up here is a disco lamp that changes colors.
Oh,
no
yeah,
one
yeah.
has
Well,
ever.
to
No
be
one has
fair-
ever turned that on until Danielle right now, and I was like, "Why is there red, yellow, purple flooding from the bathroom?" And I turned around and I realized you got a fucking disco ball in the back of the studio, son. How you been keeping that shit in the wraps?
That's a weird way to phrase it. It's actually it's a full spectrum LED bulb.
It's a disco ball, son.
Well, what it does
It's
is
a
it
one-color
it-
disco ball.
It can emulate any color that you type into the remote. It'll give you that color. You click it into the you add a little blue, add a little yellow.
You got some kind of crazy ass future light bulb that's been here the whole time,
Yeah.
and you never fucking
I got
told
one.
me
I
nothing.
got one in the living room as well.
You ain't never told nobody nothing about no future light bulbs,
I know.
son. How you gonna be sitting on future technology like that? I'm supposed to trust you, B? We supposed to build some sort of network together, son? And you got fucking future technology that you just holding on to? 22nd century shit?
In the words of Willy Wonka, surprises around every corner, but nothing dangerous. So there you go.
You just blew the lid off of one of Mitch's most top secret projects.
secret? Nothing.
You ain't told nobody about that, son. Who knew about that? Who knew?
Teddy, I got a lot of things in this apartment you don't know about,
know
but I
that.
wouldn't call them a secret. You just never asked.
Okay, all right. That's
You
fancy
see what I'm
talk.
saying?
That's fancy
I
talk
mean,
there.
You know, you don't know what's in the goodie drawer. You know what I'm saying? It's the same kind of situation. You'd never ask, but you know,
I'm never gonna
You
see
know
the
what I'm
goodie drawer light up in 4 different colors.
you don't know that. Maybe
Well,
Oh,
I
is
guess-
this
So
me turning on the
yeah,
light?
Yeah. And I've never knew that there was a fucking disco ball in the back till you just blew the lid off his
I
fucking
will show you the
covert
fancy.
project.
You know, in the bathroom, there's that little like remote off in the corner. That's for the light.
Oh, I was wondering what that
There you go.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
I'll be
smoke detector
damned.
from my living room, which is way
Danielle
too
just-
sensitive for everything I cook.
She just found the hidden bookcase in Riffopolis.
There you go.
It took us 70
There's
episodes.
a hallway in here.
But she did it.
Yeah, it's all right. Well, this is your first one in the new studio.
She
so
fucking
that's
broke
good.
it down.
That's good. Yeah. Well, we're a little over, but that's fine because it was a. I mean,
The
I'm
rousing
bummed
it.
that we didn't get to play a game.
oh, did
she
you
was-
want to
she wanted
play?
to
You
play
want to play some
I
Google
wanted.
Feud?
Yes.
All right,
Can we
can
do
that.
it?
Yeah, we haven't played Google Feud in fucking
I told
forever.
her that we had not
Let's
played Google
fucking
Feud.
do it.
Did you play it last time?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you got pens.
Here you go. Here you go. Here's your pen. Here's your notebook. Mitch, you want to explain to the people at home what Google Feud's all about?
Yes, Google Feud is much like Family Feud, where you on Family Feud you say name something your husband does in the bathroom or whatever, and then
Or-
its survey says. But instead, we use Google. So you think of a partial sentence, and then we try to guess 3 of the things that Google might suggest to finish that sentence. So there you go. Gosh, I haven't played this in so long. I don't even know
So
if I
good.
have a.
That's great.
I have a
I don't
thing.
feel like these kids are mine. That's a good one right there.
Oh yeah.
It's in the old archives there. It's in the.
Okay,
then-
I got a
you gonna
good
kick us
starter.
off?
Unless you have been sitting on one.
Nope.
This will be a weird one. I'm sure it'll come up with some strange answers.
All right, what you got, Mitch? What you got?
Where does Justin Bieber?
Oh no. Are you gonna check? Are we gonna check first? Are we gonna check first?
Yeah, I'll do a quick.
Come on, do the perusal.
Why the hell is my fucking pen being?
Let's see what's going on here.
But then you can't. If you check first, you're not going to be able to.
He's just got to
answer.
check to make sure
I
that
just,
we have.
I just
a,
use my
uh,
periphery. I don't actually read it.
to make sure that there's a
Where
answer.
does Justin? I don't even know if I'm spelling his name.
BEIBER.
Okay, let me just go to google.com. Where does Justin BIEBER?
Yeah.
Look, I'm
Okay.
I-
All right.
it
here
feels
we
good
go.
to me. I don't know.
Okay. Here
We'll
we
see.
go. Here we go. Oh man. Oh, damn it. I got it. I got it.
I'm trying to figure out if I want an easy win.
Oh yeah,
I
me
got
too.
it.
Do I,
I
want
got
to
it. No, it's the first round.
All right,
and
all right,
everybody's
all right.
going.
It's fine. It's
Go
fine.
big.
All right.
Mitch, what
All right.
you got?
Where does Justin Bieber keep his monkey?
Ooh.
He's got that pet monkey.
I'm putting with
Where does Justin Bieber get the fucking nerve?
Damn it, I got that one too.
Ooh, really?
Oh, damn.
Up top.
How dare you?
Bam.
How dare you?
Where does Justin Bieber get his hair cut?
Oh, that's a solid play.
That's fine.
Danielle?
Where does Justin Bieber live? Because I'm
That's
playing
what,
to
that's
win.
what I was saying.
I'm
I was
playing to
like-
win.
I was
She's
going to
put-
put that, but I was like, oh, but that might be.
This
all
is
right.
why she
That's
talked about this on
definitely
the
there.
elevator, because
That's
she
definitely
fucking
on
came to
now,
win.
mind
Google
you, the lower down in the results it is worth more points.
Sugar.
So that might be the top one. It's only
Yeah.
1 point.
That's
go
okay,
ahead.
but as
It's
long
all
as I
right.
make those.
It's
Where
fine.
does Justin Bieber pray?
Oh.
Where does Justin Bieber put his penis?
Oh.
That's a fair play.
That's a personal one. All right.
Teddy?
Where does Justin Bieber get the nerve?
Yep. There we go.
Where does Justin Bieber get his drugs? Also,
You think Google knows that?
where does Justin Bieber get drunk underage?
Oh, that's good.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
interesting.
Thank you. I mean, he is that, and he does that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here we go.
Where
What you got for
does Justin Bieber
Number 1.
live? There you go. 1 point. Shop, live 2013, live in what is his address?
Jesus.
Hang out, live in California, live in Calabasas, live 20. It's all live.
Danielle just nailed the whole Google feud.
I guess we got to give her 10 points.
We've got to give her. She fucking is a clean sweep.
The entire thing,
Never-
except for hang out and shop. I'm gonna go
Every-
ahead and give you. I'm gonna give you 10
Thank
points.
you. I appreciate
Oh
that.
I
my
really
goodness.
should have done that. I am a not smart
She
man.
just crushed it.
I'm a
right
big
now.
dumb fuck. All right.
She crushed it. Danielle, do you?
Arguably, I'm a girl, so
I mean, it's fair.
I know what women want.
It's cool. It's good. I will forever regret not putting that down. But whatever. It's okay.
Brutal point round. That is maybe the most brutal round of Google feud.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's
went-
ever put up a 10 spot followed by 2 goose eggs. Rough.
Yeah. That's solid.
Thank you.
What's your partial sentence? Not that it matters because you already won, but
Oh, do I come up with a
You
partial
got
sentence
one now.
now?
Yeah, you got one now.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And I'm coming
okay.
back. I'm storming back on that ass.
Okay. Let's see.
Teddy, if you got one, feel free.
Okay. You go.
No, go, Teddy.
Okay. My neighborhood is.
Hold on. It's very difficult for me to spell neighborhood blind. Neighborhood is
Yeah.
feeling good.
All
Feeling
right.
good.
Okay. Here we go.
All right.
Damn it. Oh, I got it. Got it.
Done.
I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm in it, son. I'm taking the crown in the second round.
We'll just see about that. Although I'm pretty sure mine are all shit, but
Feeling good.
I was trying.
Feeling good.
I think I got one that'll get a point.
I got it.
Teddy, start us off.
My neighborhood is poor.
Mm-hmm.
My neighborhood is fat. My neighborhood is
The neighborhood itself is fat, like
Yeah.
the cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
is like,
yeah, exactly.
meh.
Yeah.
All right.
My neighborhood is filled with immigrants.
Ooh. My neighborhood is too white.
Oh, damn.
My neighborhood is dangerous.
That's good. That's
My
good.
neighborhood is becoming gentrified.
Oh, man.
Ooh, I was going to do that one.
Good run. Good
All
run.
right.
My
Feeling good.
neighborhood is black.
Mm.
My neighborhood is ghetto.
That is definitely on there.
This is an obscure one, but I'm going with it. My neighborhood is in Manhattan.
Okay. All right. That's probably like in a song. That'll be on there as like a lyric. My
Oh, you gotta
delete.
release
You gotta
the,
delete. Where does Justin Bieber, my neighborhood? No, it's there.
My neighborhood is turning black, getting bad.
God
turning
damn it!
ghetto,
That's the number one answer. Are you
going
And
down
ghetto.
boring,
Come on.
killing is ghetto. 9 points. Holy shit! Overrun by baboons. I should have gone with that. 9 points.
Overrun by baboons.
Jesus.
How did I not go with baboons? Danielle
know.
has put up
I
double
love how
figures
my
in
neighborhood
both
is
rounds.
blank is like on there.
Yeah, like
Like,
someone just got killed. In the
Someone's
middle of
like, my neighborhood is.
it. Like,
It
just
is. It is. All right. It's an
That's-
existential neighbor. I know, dude.
Yeah,
I've
that's
never
11
seen anybody
points.
have this.
That's 11.
11?
Yeah,
This is
she
the
got.
last
There's
one.
2.
9.
And ghetto. She put
No,
that in
no.
there.
We were going for exact. If there's an exact.
Oh,
we
She,
go
exact.
and she
exact.
had black. And she had black. My
Turning
neighborhood-
black.
oh, I just wrote black.
You tell me. I'm gonna
All
give her
right,
credit
fine,
for that.
fine.
It's the first
That's-
answer,
all right,
which is
all right.
depressing
Thank you,
as
Teddy.
All right.
fuck.
All right.
Okay. It's
9
so
plus
depressing.
1.
Teddy's
so
black,
10,
by the
10
way, if you
points.
can't see.
10 points.
Danielle was really on a campaign for these points right now. She is like, I want to annihilate everything about Google Feud. She has put up
Jesus.
2 fucking decades in her first.
All
no
right.
one has ever. No
Yeah,
one has ever
this
in the
is
history of
first.
Google Feud.
This is
Oh,
the first.
thank you.
You
wow.
were-
This
You
could
were-
be the very last game of Google Feud that we ever play.
You could be the first person in Google Feud history to ever post 3 rounds of 10 points. 3
Wow.
rounds of double-digit points.
That's amazing. I mean, I Google a lot, so I'm wondering if that has anything to do
It
with it.
very well could play into a factor. This
I mean,
next
technically, the highest amount of points you could get in one round is 29. 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 2.
Yeah.
So
you
Okay.
are
the 2 would be if it's
You are-
particularly hilarious, you get 2 points just for
So this
for
is
coming in.
This one's on you. This problem.
So,
all right.
Here we go.
Well, my inclination is to say my boyfriend asked me to.
It might be a little long, but we'll see.
right.
Okay.
Hold on. Asked me to.
My boyfriend asked
It
me.
feels like it's long
You're
enough.
gonna do
I
my
feel like
boyfriend
you're
asked me?
okay. You know what? My boyfriend asked me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm with you on the 2.
Well, my boyfriend asked me to. Okay.
All right, we're gonna go with that. If it fucks up, we'll do another round.
All right. Here we go.
Okay.
Got it. Got it.
No,
I'm putting
no,
up.
no. I got this. This is all me.
I'm putting up 30 points.
I'm
in this
gonna.
round.
You know what? I bet you I have the identical answers to Danielle too. I bet you.
Probably.
I'm in the mind on this one. This one's.
I'm running for it.
I
I'm
may
running
have-
for it. I want the crown, son.
I may have double goose egged so far this game, but this round is me.
I'm in it. Danielle.
What you got?
My boyfriend asked me to do anal. Mm-hmm. Yes. My boyfriend asked me to.
I like it when people say perform anal. By the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My boyfriend asked me to have a threesome.
Oh, that's gotta be on there.
My boyfriend asked me to sleep with his friend.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
All
And I'd hope
went
that
raw. She went raw
have
on
sex
this.
with or fuck.
Yeah.
All right. I get it.
Okay. I definitely went in a little bit of a different direction for these first couple. My boyfriend asked me to do anal. I got that one with Danielle. Different direction here. My boyfriend asked me to move out.
I was
Okay.
gonna do that one actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My boyfriend asked me to get a DNA test for the baby.
I'll give you 2 points for
There
that.
he is there. There he is there.
I pretty much just what you guys said. Go down on him was the first
Ooh,
one.
that's-
Have a threesome and move in.
Oh.
wow.
Get your ass out. You get your ass in. All right, Mitch. What's
Okay.
going on?
My boyfriend asked me to move in.
Nice.
Move in with him. Do I get both? We
No.
gave
God,
her both.
anal's not even
You
on
get it, you
there.
get it.
8 and that's 9 points, baby.
Oh.
Marry him, lose weight, make him a sandwich,
Nice.
gain weight,
Wow.
sit on his lap.
Marry
move in.
him without a ring? Who are those bitches?
Well, you got 7, Teddy. You got
Yeah.
7. I got 9.
Yes.
Very
Right?
nice. I
Yeah.
didn't get one on my own thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Amazing.
Your run came
It's all
to
right.
an end. 9 for Mitch, 7 for me, but still by a count of 20 to 9-7, Danielle wins.
It's amazing.
Congratulations.
Google feud.
Thank you
Well
very
You
done.
much.
might
Mitch
be
is
the final winner of the game there.
Mitch is extending his hand, and she.
Yeah, didn't
I
even-
love that. I love that.
I got nothing but air on that.
My boyfriend asked me to make a sandwich. My boyfriend
him
asked
a
me
sandwich.
to marry him without a ring. I love
To
that.
be his Valentine?
Yeah, right. I love that.
What
Do you
the
really need to go to
fuck?
Google for that?
You do though. My boyfriend asked me to sit on his lap.
boyfriend actually likes me a little bit.
My boyfriend asked me to sit on his lap. Does that cause panic in the streets these days? Is that really terrorizing people?
Oh, that's got to be. That's,
Can you
that's,
click
that's
on
a-
my boyfriend asked me to sit on his lap? I just want to see what
That's got to be
searches come up.
14-year-old girls that are like, is this going to lead to sex?
Yahoo
Of course-
Answers.
Of course,
Yahoo Answers.
Of course.
What does that say?
Why does
Why
my man want me sitting on his lip? Well, that doesn't seem. First kiss at an amusement park where there's secret.
My boyfriend is
girlfriend.
18 and I'm 17. We've been dating for a little over a year. And that is pretty all the internet has to
And
say.
he wants me to sit on his lap tomorrow. And I'm 15 and he's 17. Called it. Going out for 2 months. He's not a perv, I don't think. He's not going to try anything sexual. Well, apart from kissing, haha. It's after school, a cement bench and a fairly remote spot.
He planned out a
However-
cement bitch.
I love the first one's like, wow, you are looking way too far in this. It's not a major step. It's just a cute gesture. Don't ever think this. Just do it. Yeah, you're lame, but it's okay to be nervous about this stuff. I'd say just relax and do whatever you think it's right.
Your man is gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna make this bitch sit on my lap on this
Do you remember
concrete
those
bench.
days of innocence and wondering about boys sitting on the laps and so on and so forth?
No.
You're like, if only there was
Yeah,
a
right.
Google.
If only.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you back in those days, you just did it or you didn't do it.
Yeah, you didn't agonize over it.
If only there was a Google, I'd have never given up the butt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
I'm with
You
you.
didn't even talk to your friends about it because you knew they didn't have the answer either.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You just either
You
did
just
it.
lived or you didn't live.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. You
Short
just
of it.
fucking did it.
Well, what a rousing,
Yeah, that was
rousing episode of riffing.
Straight riffing.
This is great from
Yeah.
the get go.
Yeah,
I
right
just
out the
dove
gate.
right in.
Yeah,
no,
really.
it's
Within
good.
3 minutes,
Good.
she was like, "I don't give a fuck.
I'm
What's
like,
going
hold on,
on?"
I'm gonna take the pool cover off, get it warmed up, and she's
Nope.
like, nope.
Where can the people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at the Danny Stew, or my website daniellestewart.com.
DANI.
DANISTEW. That's right.
Now you have a ridiculous amount of podcasts and online ventures. You had a Ustream show. Do I have that correct?
I
You're still
did have a
doing that?
Ustream
Oh, okay.
show. We had 16 episodes. That was actually produced by Ustream, so it was sort of treated like a TV show. They picked up a certain amount of episodes. That was
Nice.
called Show Interrupted, but I'm not doing that anymore. Right now, all I have going on the regulars, I've got a podcast on Sunday evenings at 6 p.m. called She Said What? And that is on, we do Ustream. We do it Ustream
All
for
right.
an hour,
Cool.
and then it goes to iTunes.
Cool.
So that's 6 p.m.
Where can they find you in person? Any shows coming up you want to plug?
You know, it's funny. I can't think of any local LA shows right now, and I know there are them, but I can't.
Well, you can wherever. I mean,
Okay,
you know.
so on May 24th, I'll be in Buffalo, New York, and May 25th, I will be in Syracuse. I don't know the names of the venues, but if you go to cleanboxentertainment.com, you can get tickets. It's for the Ronnie Munn Block Party, and it's a fun show.
All right, now let's lower our expectations while Teddy and I give our plug. You can see me at the Tapping Caps down the corner. Come
Catch
say
me
hi.
at the 7-Eleven buying a slice of pizza. No, I'm going to be performing at Formosa Cafe this Friday. I'll be doing a set and then hosting at Sal's Comedy Hole on 420.
Oh, let me know how it looks over there.
Yeah. So 8 o'clock show, 420 Saturday night, Sal's Comedy Hole. Come on out. Mitch, what you got going?
Also, Friday, Formosa, headlining that one, so that'll
Yeah.
be a good show.
Yeah.
You get a double dose, motherfucker.
I didn't even
Dust
know
the
they had
ribbon.
comedy there.
Yeah, we're doing
It's
it
a good show. It's good crowd.
every Saturday, sometimes
I
on
love
Fridays.
that vibe. A great vibe.
Saturday night?
Yeah, that's right. Good night, bitches.
You can catch all past and future episodes of Straight Riffin' on the official website riffin.net, riffin.net. Keep in mind, we do air live every Monday night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Time. That's 10 p.m. to midnight for you East Coasters. You can actually watch that right on Facebook, on our fan page, facebook.com/straightriffin. Like us, check out the Ustream page. You can even chat while we're doing the show. That's how we interact with the fans. We thank you so much for listening. Check out riffin.net. Buy my album. Buy Teddy's album. We'll catch you again next time. And rip the fuck on, bitches.